Maybe 55. I like to tell people that, yeah, I'll drop you off. I'll slow down to 55 and you should roll when you hit the ground. I did notice that your alerts for YouTube are still coming up on the label. Something funny on the label. Something old.
That's because of Dan's John. His little bot is still running somewhere, and I have no access to it. It's his bot doing it through Streamlabs or whatever, and I can't get to it. He's the only one who has access. I need to have that fixed. Because it's messing us up. It's part of what's killing viewers because they're not getting up-to-date info.
I'm wondering if I should just pull this map off. People are going to have a hard time.
No, I think it's great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Hail and well met, David.
Hello, no, Matt. Sorry.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, we were confused.
We still have John's little bot thing sending the alerts, and it keeps sending from like 2 years ago.
You get like a dice roller.
Because I don't have access to it.
With your own coaster.
So every time we do a broadcast, people don't care.
That's neat.
Because what does it say on there? Or whatever the last one was.
Hello.
That we got
Yeah,
changed.
one shot.
We're going to have to make room.
Hello.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is Cyrus. That is Amber.
Hi, Cyrus. Hi, Amber.
I don't think that you've met them. Yes, this is Brian.
I think I'll try to
Move along. Move along. Move
Actually,
along.
if you come around this
Rotate
way,
around. Well,
there's really
then move
big
it.
obstacle course here.
clear.
Okay, I'll move this table.
No, not that.
I'm just trying to stay out of people's way. Okay, I will
I have the
set up a
dexterity
reminder for
over.
myself to talk to
Yes,
them
but what
about
is your
that.
Because that's
rating?
killing viewership
Find out.
completely.
Oh look.
Because I remember speaking to him about it before. and
Yeah,
I
no,
thought
I
he
brought
was-
it
easy
up.
that was.
I brought it up repeatedly. Every time we've gone back on the air, I brought it up because we get a reminder that. Yeah, because then once you do the announcement, you can't undo it. Because there's a sleep whatever.
Like, clean the car when I drive.
I'm for it. Let's go. Right around the block.
I'd rather he just turned it off. Just disable it because it's wreaking havoc.
I mean, is there a minimum number of wheels you have to keep on the road?
6.
For me.
I think there are 6.
I believe it's 2.
characters. Yes. Oh.
Okay, so each of you gets a mug, which is a dice roller, and it's got a corresponding coaster to go along with the Shire theme.
Which is very awesome. Okay.
I've got to get me a Prancing Pony t-shirt or something like that.
Oh yeah, the podcast has some T-shirts. The Prancing Pony podcast. Those guys have done some nice ones. They've got one where Feanor is like a pinata because they're always like beating up on like, oh my goodness, Feanor, why did he do this?
Did you want me in there or out here?
Dan?
It's whatever
I
you
believe
would
these are
like. If you
yours.
would like to play, you are most welcome. If you would rather work on the archives, you are most welcome. It's what you would like.
This is the back.
I think it was only the
By
small
the way,
one.
good job.
Well, if you don't think it's the large
I mean,
one,
I'm really-
I mean,
I'm
you can
kind of
either
excited
keep
about
it
Marcus.
or I will take it back. Either way.
And I kind of, when I got them, I was like, oh, I don't expect it to come back. So
Okay.
The DM stuff. I'm
Right.
I appreciate it.
Right.
Thank you.
Something like
not really my
that.
bag.
I hope
So
you
we
enjoyed
have
the
one
hot sauce.
remote,
I did.
Elizabeth, player, and then we have,
We use it as a base.
Really?
yeah,
Well, you know, we mix up food or something like that.
3,
I was barely able to hear you over the music. I'm sorry.
5.
Well,
It's your call.
it's
You're
we're
welcome to, but
pre-streaming it
beautiful.
to get viewers.
But it's going to be kind of a rollicking kind
You
of
know, I will.
competition adventure, not super
We're
combat
streaming
kind
this.
of
Yeah, we always record. We always
so we
record.
can make it work.
Carolyn says the music is still on.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're getting ready. We're not ready yet.
Dan, do you want to be here?
Driving today.
Okay. And what's your name again?
Amber.
Amber. Great. Brian.
Brian.
Okay, come on.
Do you have a chair?
No, you can have that.
You have to
Streaming.
stand the whole time.
I'm okay standing right now.
As am I.
Yes.
So,
But what about in a few hours?
well, then I guess I'll get a chair at that point.
Or we could just
We
lower the table.
are
I don't think we can.
we are
the table
pre-streaming.
is-
The chainsaw.
Yeah.
Oh.
You get one of those standing desks on top of a regular table and it rolls up. I said you could get one of those individual standing desk risers that you put on top of the regular table and then just you could stand up. Yep. Where are we dragging again?
Feels weird picking it up. The legacy of that shield is.
Oh my gosh. Those.
Burned.
Well, hopefully this is just the
Hello and welcome to RPG Research. I'm Hawk Robinson, and today is March 12th, 2022, and we are doing our usual volunteer Game Master training, but we have some special. We have a special guest, special Game Master here, and we're making some changes to training, and this is an initial evaluation. So our special guest Game Master, Loremaster, Brian Huseland from RPG.LLC and the Ea Tolkien Society, an official SMILE, that's a chapter of the UK Tolkien Society. And actually, he's been to England and the Bird and...
The Eagle and Child.
Eagle and Child and all of that.
The Bird and Baby.
Yeah,
which
Bird
is
and Baby.
Nicknamed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
T-shirt.
is also the secretary of the Ea Tolkien Society. Welcome, Brian. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yep. Glad to be here. Thank you.
And then everybody else is here to try out the One Ring second edition from Sophisticated Games starter set. We'll get into the more advanced versions later, but this is the starter
also
set.
known as the Free League edition.
Yeah,
because they don't say second edition anywhere on the products.
Yeah, Sophisticated Games and Free League rather than Cubicle 7. Long story, but won't get into that. And this is the first time, now when we did Tolkien Moot, which is, what was it, Tolkien Moot 17, the annual Tolkien gaming event, Brian ran the early edition of TOR2 for everybody who attended. So everybody got a nice sneak peek before it was even physically available. And so he is our resident Tolkien and Tor expert. And we're going to be playing this for the first time with the full completed edition of the starter set. Now, the starter set is a lightweight introductory version. It does not include all of the complex rules, and that's good. When it comes to a starter set, that's the mistake that 99 point whatever percent of role-playing games have made, is their high barrier to entry for first-time players and GMs. The only games that we've found so far address that properly, despite all the other starter sets out there. Don't give me the list of all the D&D starter sets and all the Pathfinder starter sets, all that. We've all evaluated all of them. They have a very high barrier to entry, except the 1983 BECME, Basic Expert Companion Masters and Mortals by Frank Menser. That addresses both beginner player and GM. That's the only one that does both. And for players only, the best one has been the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu starter set, Initial Adventure, Alone Against the Flames, and actually even the campaign Alone Against the Dark. Those do an excellent job of an introductory for first-time players, but then falls flat on the introductory GM side. So we're going to see how this one does as a barrier to entry. I was taking a look through it, and it looks like it is possible to GM this straight out of the box with only the first adventure and the little mini. The box is really beautifully designed and well thought out. It's got your adventure map on the inside and the lightweight version of the rules handy. And so, in theory, you should be able to run the full adventure with just open up the adventure, run it, and reference this, and be able to play it without having to do any front-end loading. So we're going to be evaluating that over the coming weeks with everybody going through it. But this is our first time playing it. But this is a training session. So, oh, that's the part I forgot to pull up was those docs. I've been pulling up everything else. So that means we start with a quiz. Now, it's downloaded, right? You did download it.
It's right there.
Yeah, okay, good. Right there.
Right now.
So first we start with a baseline quiz. And what session are we on today?
13, I believe.
Session 13. All right. And so now the other thing is this used to be for Adventures in Middle Earth, which was D&D 5th edition with TOR modifications from the 1st edition, but that is now out of print. So we're evaluating TOR2 because it has a starter set for replacing AIM, Adventures in Middle Earth. That's the other part. Okay. So this is session 13. This is part 2 discussing Tuckman's theories on small groups, the 2 paradoxes, importance of behavior guidance rules built into RPGs for riskier populations, and applied gaming. Now normally it would have been Adventures in Middle Earth, AIM. Instead we're going to be doing TOR 2, which I actually like TOR more than AIM.
Yeah.
It's just that it's a leap because it's so different from D&D.
True.
But with a starter set, that makes it less of a problem. So in today's session, we will cover small group dynamics, introduction to behavior guidance rules, differences in various RPGs for risky systems, tips, introduction to behavior guidance rules we'll talk about AIM and TOR, tips and tricks, introduction to discussion of behavior guidance rules in Dwait's Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space. And of course, we're going to be doing lots of TOR 2 applied gaming. That's what the majority of this 4-hour session will be. So Elizabeth is joining us remotely. Elizabeth, you're in Massachusetts?
Yep.
Yep. And you're a trainee, and you are actually working on your CTRS as well, right? Your degree towards it.
Working on my second semester at the moment.
Say that again?
Working on my second semester at the moment.
Wonderful, wonderful. And which university is that through?
That is through Temple University, which is in
Temple.
Philadelphia, and I'm
That's
not
the
there.
one I always forget. It's Temple. I keep forgetting
I was
Temple.
trying to guess if it was Western Governors or not. Yeah.
What's that?
I said that's encouraging.
No, I'm bad with names, and I keep trying to tell people like, oh no, Elizabeth's doing this great program at Temple. It's respected, and I keep forgetting the name.
Going through Temple?
Well, because East Coast ones are a little different too.
I was thinking about doing the the Eastern Washington, but
Does Eastern Washington have a?
that's what you guys brought up Wednesday when I was like, yeah, I'm gonna apply.
We think they still have it, but we don't know if they're going to continue to have it or not. If they've
TR?
replaced Emily or not. Yeah.
Oh.
Since she moved back to Florida.
Oh, right.
We don't know who's replaced her and if they're keeping the program or not.
But also a online one would probably be better for me to do, and also if it was.
Do you already have a bachelor's?
I do.
Well,
yeah.
then Temple, because it's a master's program, right? Was
Yeah.
it? Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's better because Eastern is.
It's quite. It's got a very general clinical focus, and I chose Temple because it was less. It had more of that broader focus than a lot of the ones I could find, which were like really outdoors and more Parks and Rec focused.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that might be a good way to do it.
I might look into that, but that's not why we're here.
No, well, yeah, but this is just kind of give everybody kind of ideas. So let's do
Yes.
quick introductions while I pull this up.
So the other classroom,
Yes.
the other person that we have that's usually here at class on Fridays or
Oh.
Saturdays is Cyrus.
Cyrus, yes. Well, so, but let's just go all the way around the table first. So
Okay.
John, lean in and say hello.
Hello, I'm John, Vice President of RPG Research and co-founder, and I'm here for the game today.
Woohoo! And one of our other students,
I'm Cyrus, and I'm a volunteer learning to be a DM for this program.
level 1 GM trainee.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yep.
Of course, Brian
I'm
we
Brian.
introduced, and David.
And then I am David. I'm the one that normally is running the Saturday morning trainings.
And
I
you still will be. I'm just getting things pulled up.
Yes, I know. It's just
No demotion.
I know that. I mean, if you wanted me to, I could stop doing the Saturday ones.
No.
I'd be, like sleep in. That'd be fantastic. Yeah.
We're giving him a chance to play again.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I know. I do get the chance to play again. I am excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my name is Daniel Ivy. I am a GM level 2 trainee. I help with the Sunday classes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Can I?
I
just
do
ask
the
how
Monday
long
classes.
Each of you guys have been doing this for. So David.
Been doing RPG research.
Yeah. Is it 3 years?
3 years, I think.
And he's now also an employee. They're
Yeah,
actually both
sure.
hired at RPG.LLC.
I was just trying to
now.
think about how long.
Yeah.
And then is it 4 for you, Daniel?
I think so.
Nice.
And I'm 6.
Yes.
Yeah, he's volunteer number 1 if I'm 0, or he's number 2 if I'm 1.
You're like Riker. I get it.
Yeah.
And you guys are the red shirts. Oh wait, no, that's not this
Wait.
adventure. Sorry.
It depends on what era we're talking about. The red shirt.
Oh,
So
Dan, you're wearing red. How unfortunate.
It was nice knowing you.
Yes, but he has the blue for his advancement in
all
hours.
right, yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Where's the instructor's manual? I don't see it downloaded.
It should be right above it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Is there a camera angle where I can see more
It's
of the
right
table?
there.
See, well,
I didn't even know Dan was there. Hi, Dan.
Well, if he would either move the chair and lean in,
I
or
can
sit in the
have
chair,
you-
then
It's right.
he'll be visible.
It's right
You
below.
can be
it.
at my elbow if you want to.
I
I
am
won't
right
feel.
there.
I won't feel
Okay.
too like.
There you go.
I guarantee you that.
Can you see him now?
I saw him for a second.
What about now?
Hello.
Okay.
The archivist has emerged.
And she has a question.
She has a question.
It's the second.
She
Yeah.
is. She
That one.
bringeth out dusty
Okay.
tomes.
With smile and glee.
With
she
smiling
didn't lick
Lee. Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So first thing we're gonna do is start out with a quiz. So David, if you want to do the honors on that.
Okay, I'll do that. Can you go answer the archivist questions?
Oh yes. Sorry, I didn't know you guys were talking to me.
Yeah, sorry. We were role playing. No, we're not.
Both.
Use names.
All right, question number 1. The disposition, character, credibility, trustworthiness, or fundamental ethical values peculiar to a specific person, group, or message is known as blank.
Do you want me to? How do you want me to do this? I mean, no on camera. Should I raise my hand or dang or what?
Either one. I prefer the ding because I like to hear things, but yeah, that helps me. So,
Okay.
yep,
Then you know she's finished with that question.
Mhm.
Excellent.
yep. I have them whenever they're remoting in. Use that usually.
That's a good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ding.
Thank you. All
I
right.
either do a thumbs up or the ding, whichever they're comfortable with.
According to Goffman, when group members are focusing on the task, social pressures and problems may be building that are being ignored while focusing on the task. But when the group takes the time necessary to address the social emotional issues, the task is not being worked on, increasing pressure to put focus back on the task. This is known as blank blank. Aha. Okay. 3. List what the following acronyms stand for. The company that originally published the related game, and that would be TOR RPG, AIME, AIM, and Dwaits. And who is the new publisher for TOR and AIM, and now who's the new publisher for TOR? Because I think there's been 3 publishers now. This is the 3rd.
I think so.
Yeah. So this question will have to be updated.
Yeah.
And then does he have the mouse over there?
Of course he does.
Yep. We're
Trying to find it.
hopefully he didn't take it with him.
Thanks to their wonderful help.
Hawk, do you have the mouse?
They reached under the table.
Okay.
Or a small rat.
Excuse me.
Oh, there it is.
Aha.
I'll do it for you on the back. Okay, you need
All right.
to go to the next one.
Yep, we're on 4, which we think 3's probably going to need to be updated. So,
Because it's AIM?
well, it's talking about
Okay.
Publishers.
because,
Yeah.
and I think there's the
Yeah,
new.
oh, definitely. This whole section will have to be updated, definitely.
I mean, yeah. All right, Cyrus, are you good?
Sure.
Cool. The intellectual capacity of a specific person, group, or the intellectual integrity of a message is known as blank. Okay. What is the important rules feature that is missing in Adventures of Middle-earth that we have ported over from TOR? It's also the reason that we really like TOR, and we're going to be doing TOR today.
One of several.
Well, one of several.
Yeah, there's
Right.
several features missing, but it was really,
This was the one that we absolutely needed to port over.
we made a house rule for it. Yeah.
Right.
I think of more of a castle rule, but you know.
I'm probably going to be scanning more often. So it's one
Sure.
of the few
Do
like
whatever
uses.
works for you.
I would.
Oops, what's this?
Sanitizer.
Yeah, it's okay.
I have sanitized the floor.
Well, we can switch back and forth
Yeah.
on the chair.
I like that.
You know.
Let's do this.
Okay. Cool.
Somebody's
I'm still good on doing this. My blood flow. Anyway. All right. Cool. I think I'm on 6. Okay. The system features in a game that help provide guideposts to players on which behaviors and choices are adaptive or maladaptive. We refer to as blank blank rules. There's an older way that we used to refer to these, and that was not
No.
as
Stigma. There's stigma.
There's stigma. There is a stigma for the way that we used to refer to this.
Not to be confused with stigmata.
No, it's a very different thing.
rabbit trail.
It's using that term, it's contraindicated.
Indeed.
Let's to go back to last week.
Okay. 7. The degree of emotional arousal of a specific person, group, or emotional appeal of a message is known as blank.
Their animals, Sword, or Taken.
You guys have gone through quite a bit of revision and
Yes.
improvement. Yeah.
And we're now working on the 2nd edition.
Great.
And it's going to go from 18 to 24 sessions so that it allows more play time
Right.
and a little more discussion. Just so it's less rushed.
Yeah. That's great.
But still not at the 2 to 3 years that it used to be.
My Saturday groups, we are very good at discussion. We are very good at discussion.
Quite proficient.
I know, right?
Proficient. That's
So it's a 6-month program.
We could make. Anyway, we shouldn't.
So you say expect these.
Oh, we are. Yes, experts at it. All right. Question number 8.
52 divided by 2.
Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's become...
Humans have a
Wait, I
need.
5 weeks, I think, no.
Oh, yep.
6 was not Aramis. The emotion one, did we, or that was 7?
6 was the...
System that in the game that helps provide guideposts to players on which behaviors and
Okay, I've definitely
choices.
missed one. I guess I'll find it later. All right, 8. Got it.
Okay. Humans have a need for group affiliation. Social needs are met when part of the group, including maintenance of self-confidence. Or self-concept. Wow. However, to be part of a group, one must give up some individual freedom, which may cause some upset, resentment, or even outright anger. Some people want to be in the group, but they simultaneously don't want to be in the group. According to Goffman, to have a self, one must fill a role. But to fill a role is to lose self. This is known as blank blank.
By the way, whenever there's quotes there, you should say quote and unquote, because they're quotes. Because we're actually quoting somebody. So if people are listening, you need to say the quotes. So you would say, however, quote, to be part of a group, one must give up some individual freedom, end quote, which may cause blah, 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 blah. So just a little tweak there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that is Elizabeth. Cyrus, how you doing?
Sure, I'm good with that one.
Cool. I don't expect you to know that one. It's very specific to what we do. Anyway, game systems that include rules to help guide players in adaptive and maladaptive behaviors are strongly recommended for blank, blank, or blank populations. Conversely, we do not generally recommend for these populations RPGs with ambiguous concepts of right and wrong. They are missing clearly defined societal rules of appropriate behavior.
Oh.
Cool.
Brian, you see
Okay.
why TOR is so apropos for this section.
10. What is the name of the TRPG that prioritizes initiative order by least violent, talking, to most violent, action declaration? I heard Elizabeth, and that should be the last question.
Yep.
So,
Cyrus, you can remember this one if you don't lose your hand.
okay.
Okay.
All right. So, question number 1. The disposition, character, credibility, trustworthiness, or fundamental ethical value peculiar to a specific person, group, or message is known as the ethos. Ethos. Question number 2. I'm going to have Elizabeth do this because I'm supposed to have you guys answer it. When group members are focusing on the task, social pressures and problems may be building that are being ignored while focusing on the task. But when the group takes time necessary to address the social emotional issues, the task is not being worked on, increasing pressure to push focus back on the task. This is known as...
I think this one is Paradox 2. I'm never going to remember which number is which, but...
Yeah, it's Paradox 1, actually, and it's the first one. Yep.
I think I always assume that this one is, like, ordered to be a trick question. Okay.
Yep.
Well, there
I think
was a version that it was.
There was a version that it was.
And then during editing, somehow it ended up in the right order by accident. Because I meant for it to be that way, and then somehow it got moved.
So it's meant to be a trick question, but we messed up the trick.
But see, you were expecting a trick. So it's not a trick, and that's the trick.
I know that you know that I know that you know that.
Yeah.
Never argue with a Sicilian.
Never mess with a Sicilian when death is on the line.
Okay, so I
wonder how
was
long it would
correctly
be.
thinking the talk there was just an error. Got it.
Yep. Question number 3. List what the following acronyms or initialisms stand for and the company that originally published them. So TOR RPG, AIM, Dwaits, who's the new publisher for TOR and AIM, who's the other new publisher for TOR and AIM. So, Cyrus, what do you have? Because you have several, I think.
Oh, cool. So Tor is the One Ring role playing. I
Yeah.
don't know who did it.
It's okay.
Dwaits is Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space.
Yes.
That's about all I got.
Okay, cool. Elizabeth, can you fill in the gaps?
Adventures in Middle-earth.
Yep, that's it. Which we are most likely going to be dropping from our
We are.
thing because
we have
it's
out of print.
It's not in print.
We'll
so-
have it in higher level training because it still has some useful ways of how to modify D20 to become safer for higher risk populations. Because D20 5th edition by itself is problematic for at-risk populations.
It is.
It really is problematic. Much better off using AIM or something like that if you want to stick with the D&D rules to add that behavioral guidance to it. So.
Yep. All right, so Cubicle 7 and Sophisticated Gaming are
Games.
the ones that were the
Sophisticated games, not games.
games. Sorry, they were the companies that designed them, and then now.
So I think Sophisticated Game
those
holds
are
the license,
publishing.
and Cubicle 7 was the publisher.
Correct. So now we got Swedish company Free League is doing
The
TOR.
publishing. Sophisticated Game still holds the license.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little
It's
confusing.
It's weird. But the main thing that I'm concerned about is that you know what systems we're talking about when
Yes.
we use those
Yes.
things.
And
The other thing, the history is interesting. We need to know it. But I'm personally more concerned in that you know when we talk about TOR, you know what we're talking about.
you do need to know the publisher to tell people where they get it.
Yes.
So, there's that.
All right.
Okay.
4. The intellectual capacity of a specific group, person, group, or intellectual integrity of a message is known as the... Cyrus, you got an answer for this one?
Not
Okay.
yet.
You keep adding the article, the in front of these. There's not a definite article. You keep saying the.
Mm-hmm.
You don't say the. It's just known as. You put a the right there both times. On the other one you did as well. So
Okay.
Just helping tweak it just a little.
Okay.
Thank you.
Elizabeth
Logos.
is logos. Okay.
And way to remember that is intellect and logic. Logos.
I go with word.
Huh?
Words.
Word. Yeah.
Word.
What is the important rules feature that is missing from AIM that we have ported over to over from TOR? So, Cyrus.
Without the hero point system?
Nope, that's close.
But we don't port that.
We don't port that. Elizabeth.
The fellowship focus, and I'm curious about what Cyrus says, but we're running late, sorry. Okay.
Okay. Fellowship focus. Yeah. Okay. 6. The system features in a game that help provide guideposts to players on which behaviors or choices are adaptive or maladaptive. We refer to as blank blank rules. What are those rules, Elizabeth?
Behavioral guidance.
Yes,
got
behavioral
one.
Yeah, good job.
Not modification.
Yeah.
Not modification.
Not modification. Right. The degree. Okay, now number 7. The degree of emotional arousal to a specific person, group, or emotional appeal of a message is known as. Better. Okay. Cyrus.
Engagement?
Nope, not quite. Elizabeth.
That's a different chapter.
D'Artagnan. No.
No.
Porthos. No. Pathos.
Pathos. Yes. Pathos. All right.
Nicely done.
8. Humans have a need for group affiliation. Social needs are met when parts of the group, including maintenance of self-concept. However, to be part of a group, one must give up some individual freedom, which may cause some upset, resentment, or even outright anger. Some people want to be in the group, but they simultaneously don't want to be in the group. According to Goffman, quote, to have a self, one must fill a role, but to fill a role is to lose self, unquote. This is known as blank blank. Cyrus, you got a guess on this one?
Context clues to the second paradox.
Yes! Great use of context clues there, Cyrus.
Now, keep in mind, in the final, they're not in order.
Yes.
So you need to learn it correctly. They're not
Oh,
in
yes.
order in the final.
Where you put logos there, Cyrus.
Well, there's only 2 possible orders.
Yeah, still, you don't want to be guessing because you have to get a really high percentage of accuracy to pass the final.
Yes.
You got a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
but you have to pass with a 90% or better to pass the final.
Game systems that include rules that help guide players in adaptive and maladaptive behaviors are strongly recommended for blank blank or blank populations. What are those blank blank or blank populations, Elizabeth?
Is it at risk and incarcerated? Or
That's
high-risk?
2.
That's 2 of them.
Oh, there was another one, high risk?
Yes.
Yes, at
that's
risk,
it.
high risk, or incarcerated populations.
That's
Yeah,
kind of
I
the.
missed blank space is what
Oh,
happened.
sorry.
Yeah.
It's blank, blank, or blank.
Yeah.
So, but yes.
Got it.
And that's
Hey,
kind of
you
the
got
progression from at risk to high risk to incarcerated is kind of how you can think about that.
Yep. There is an escalation there.
Oh,
10. What is the name of the TRPG and its publisher that prioritizes initiative order by least violent to most violent action declaration? Cyrus.
Is that Dwayne's?
That is Dwaits.
Which stands for.
Guard Who Adventures in Time and Space?
Yes.
Yes.
And who makes it?
We just covered that.
Yep. Don't look it up.
That was Swedish
No,
publisher?
That's Tor.
That's Tor, okay.
It's the older publisher.
It's-
It's
okay.
still.
Then
Cubicle
I did
7.
Cubicle 7.
So they're still publishing Dwaits. That
Okay.
hasn't changed. It's only Tor and AIM that have changed.
Gotcha.
I don't think that got
that
clarified earlier, so that's why
It's
I'm
the
circling
7th
back.
cube, not
Yeah.
the 7th side of the
Alright.
cube.
And then that's it for the quiz. Woohoo! Well done,
Yay.
everybody. All right, now we can jump into the actual applied gaming. Welcome, Brian, Loremaster.
Yes.
Welcome,
We're
everybody.
excited to be here.
Thank you. Our first order to get going here is to make sure everybody has a character. So, Hawk, John, Elizabeth were able to, but for Cyrus, David, and Daniel, we have some pre-generated kind of. Let me see here. We've got
You want to
some
roll
pre-generated-
dice, and I'll just give them to you at random? 'Cause we got 3 left.
Correct.
Sure.
So,
Are those the 3?
yeah.
I'll take the first one.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Cyrus.
Okay.
You're my wife.
Fantastic. I'm glad we get to sit next to one another.
And then you got this on the back, just so you know.
I'll take Lobelia.
All right.
Yes.
Ophelia.
What was that?
Said I called it.
How'd you call it?
I said I think David would be really great at playing Lobelia.
She's a little sassy.
Esmeralda Took.
I'm just gonna let you know.
Okay.
We'll go around and read them aloud.
I'm going to try and take a spoon.
Randy.
You're gonna take a spoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I know that, but Bilbo doesn't know
No,
that.
Bilbo doesn't know that.
This was gonna make things interesting.
Now, keep in mind, it's supposed to be an introductory adventure,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to keep it simple.
I know.
Because if you
I'll
do
put-
things off
that's just
script, it ends up complicating the
But
beginner
right.
GM's rules.
But that is most definitely within the character of the character.
I understand, but this is a heavily railroaded
I'll
intro.
I'll handle it.
I know you can.
Okay.
Have you read the
I want to
old
make
one?
it clear: don't do that to an introductory.
Oh, I know not to do
Okay.
that. To
He would be
it.
nicer.
Luckily,
to
we have the
one of those
master here.
people. Oh boy.
So, shall we go around and read each of our
Yes.
introductions? Elizabeth, you want to start with yours,
Sure.
and then John, and then we'll go.
I'm doing Loremaster Brandy Buck. All those dragon tales and children's stories aren't without some truth, I tell you. That dragon's up to something, and I mean to find out what. Playing proper he was before that wizard dragged him up from the blue, only to plop him down only a year later with a pack full of gold and a twinkle in his eye. I'm not judging him, mind you. We Bucklanders get called strange enough by these stiff West Farthing hobbits, but if Baggins is up to some new strangeness, I mean to witness it firsthand and see what's going on for myself. Brother to Primula, Rorimac called Rory, will soon inherit the title of Master of Buckland. For the moment, he is a stout hobbit. I think that means he's down to earth in this case, because hobbits are stout. Suspicious of anything uncanny and always ready to defend his sister. I know what you mean. I know what you mean, though. But okay. So this is basically saying he's got high stamina. Okay. Nothing there. Got it. Okay.
Try it. Go again.
I am Drogo Baggins. I get myself all settled in Buckland and ready to get married with a nice wing of brandy hall all to myself. And Cousin Bilbo goes calling me to Hobbiton. It's not quite proper, mind you, but I've done my fair share of improper things. I suppose a little packing up to live across the Brandywine like some boot-wearing river hobbit. Pramila tells me I need to buck up my courage. Little brandy buck humor that. And get past my fears if I ever to earn a proper place at Brandy Hall. So I suppose we'll see what strangeness Cousin Bilbo got planned. So as long as there's no boats involved. I'm still a proper Westfarthing hobbit and not comfortable with those untrustworthy contraptions yet.
A little foreshadowing.
Yeah. Cyrus.
So this is Primilla Brandy Buck. Oh, it's quite proper that Drogo and I head back to Big End for a bit. We've not seen his Uncle Bilbo since Drogo promised to marry me right in front of everyone under the Perry tree. Dear Drogo may be stiff at times, but he's got a touch of his uncle in him. Rory coming along, shrewd as ever, and convinced something strange is afoot. Esmeralda is convinced we're going to find a dragon or some such nonsense. As for Lobelia, well, the less said, the better. Someone's got to keep a level head in the whole affair, and it seems like I'm the only one fit for the job. My cousin of Bilbo Baggins.
On her mother's side. That's
Amelia is the youngest daughter of...
Hobbits.
Oh, were we supposed to read that part?
You don't have to.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
David.
Oh, okay. That's important though because that means
Yeah,
Cyrus
relationships.
younger. That
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
Good to know.
yeah, relationships are a big deal to hobbits, so.
Okay.
So Drogo and Jogo and Primula are engaged.
I am Lobelia. Can you believe the gall of that Brandy Buck? Oh, he calls himself a Baggins, but no right and proper Baggins would run off with a pack of mad dwarves and half-cracked wizard off into the blue, let alone have the audacity to show his face over a year later with a pony full of gold and pretend everything's right as rain. I'll not have it, I tell you. And I'll not have him bringing any more undue scandal to the proper people of the Shire.
Typo.
He's up to something. Calling tooks and brandy bucks to Bag End for some nasty, troublesome business, no doubt.
What typo did you find, Elizabeth?
In the character sheet, David read it properly as undo, but it says undo.
Oh, you're right. Yes, it should be UNDUE. Thanks for catching that.
Yeah.
Undue scandal. Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything we can do about it, but
Nope. He read
Can't undo that mistake.
Is there a groan button for Elizabeth? She might want one.
that's okay. That's probably my loudest noise.
Okay, Daniel.
Ooh, this is gonna be an adventure. A true Baggins adventure right here. Set out by the master Baggin of Baggin himself. Yes, I know I'm technically here because Great Aunt Lila wanted me to make sure that Mad Baggins didn't stir up any trouble nonsense. Or more likely to get me out of Tuckborough for a few days after that to do at her birthday party last year. But that wasn't my fault. And truth be told, I plan on coming back with a good story or two in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've no doubt that I'll have more yarns to spin than Gamma Rosa keeps by that creeping old rocker of hers.
Nice.
A great-granddaughter of
Gerontius.
Gerontius, the old Took. She is still in her tweens. She was about 5 years old when Bilbo Baggins left Bag End to go and claim the gold of Smaug the dragon. She'll marry Saradoc Brandybuck and one day become the mother of one Meridoc Brandybuck.
Okay, Hawk. I'm playing Paladin Took the Second. Minding my business in Whitwell, and who should come trundling along up the lane of my farm but young Esmeralda. Off to see her cousin to Bilbo she is, and I thought to myself, that is a right fine idea. What's wrong with a took having a touch of fun before settling down and becoming a proper farmer? I'm still a tween myself. Why not set off responsibility for another season or two and honor my great-grandfather with a bit of adventure? Seems only proper. Underage brother to Esmeralda Took and future Thane. For the moment, his only claim to fame is being the oldest daughter of Adalgrim Took and a newly settled farmer from Whitwell. One day he'll have a son and name him Peregrine, as in Pippin.
So
Was that another typo?
that sounds like a typo.
Being the oldest son, you said daughter. His only claim to fame being the oldest son.
No, that I must be losing my mind. Did I
you
say
said
daughter?
Yeah, you
You
said
did.
daughter.
I'm losing
It's
my
fine.
mind.
So how old is
For
your
the
character
moment, his
actually?
only claim to fame is being the oldest son of Adalgrim
Yeah,
Took.
You said daughter.
I'm losing my mind. Okay.
Yes. And our child will be Frodo Baggins. But how old is he in actuality? It says
He's a tween. So tweens in Hobbit, it means up until about like between teenage and 33.
Like in your-
Once
like-
you're 33,
yeah.
your irresponsible years are over.
Right.
Okay.
So you're
If
early
you flip
30s.
your character sheet over, it tells you his actual age.
27. Yeah, that's a tween.
Yeah.
I'm 24.
You're a tween.
You're a tween.
How is he younger than me?
No, he's older. He said 27.
Underage brother.
Oh,
to Esmeralda
Underage
Took.
meaning 30.
Just underage, not
Okay.
Not younger
33.
brother.
Okay.
Yeah, just
I think it's
underage
saying
brother.
all of these are underage cousins.
Yeah.
They're able to.
They're irresponsible
Yes.
because hobbits are allowed to be irresponsible.
And if
because,
they were
except for
Oh. Yes.
yes,
42.
yes, not allowed to be
I'm
irresponsible.
40.
Yeah.
I'm 52.
Well, you also said something. Okay, so
Yeah,
see,
so we
We're
are
adults.
we are the
Exactly.
adults.
So you're the young and mature ones.
we
here.
are. We're the underage ones. So
Yes. Okay.
The raggy muffins.
Well,
Baggy
I think that characters are really important to the One Ring role-playing
Yes.
system. So that's a lot of fun. I think that, of course, today we're going to be looking at the starter set. But it is a great system for really helping people to develop character. And so that's all I'm going to say right now. But Hawk, you can jump in later if you want to. So what I'm doing is I'm helping to set kind of out what you're doing if you're using the One Ring starter set. And the way that it's set up is
needs a
very
weight.
basic. It's meant to be, as Hawk referred to earlier, truly out of the box with a little bit, minimal amount of preparation.
no, it was too low. I would drink that.
I'll just wait.
Keep going.
Okay. So in the starter set, I don't know if I need to explain what's all in there or just get going with it.
Just get going.
We're
We did
kicking
an
the tires.
unboxing of it Wednesday.
Okay.
So
Great.
If people want to see that, they can look at the Wednesday stream.
Right. Okay, so I'm using the adventures.
Yes.
Okay, great. So any questions before we get started?
Should we move the donate thing where?
I'll work on it.
Okay. Because it's.
We have
I'm
one
working on
question,
it.
looks like.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
Are we declaring fellowship focused, or does that just come out naturally, or
Let
what are we-
let him.
Yeah, so
lead
that's
us
a
through
great
this,
question.
but, yeah.
And it's so one of the interesting things is that with second edition, not going to get into the weeds, but that can be changed throughout the game. So if we can do that at the beginning. There's going to be some natural ones perhaps that would happen because of relationships. So that's a great idea that we can definitely kind of announce at the beginning. Well, I think I'd probably, this person my fellowship focus, but then that leads to a question even before that, what is fellowship? So one of the dynamics in the One Ring role-playing system is that you are working together to achieve a common aim. And of course, each person then grows in their skills, their experience, their wisdom, and their valor. So those are things that are going to be kind of dynamic. At the beginning, when you're running people through this, you're not going to get into a lot of those details because the very first adventure we're doing won't even require for us to have hope points or endurance points. But as you move along through the adventures in the starter set, then you will start to incorporate hope and endurance. So those are things that we would use at a different time. But yes, so fellowship focus is really this way, as Elizabeth mentioned, of being able to kind of say, if when the chips are down, whose back do I have, and who's got my back? Importantly, and so then that allows you then to have really two kind of loyalty kind of layers. One loyalty layer is to each other, although some people are along to kind of keep an eye on things. But you're bound together by a common culture of hobbits. If there was somebody who was not a hobbit who was starting to gang up, it's kind of like when I was growing up, my brother would always pick on me, but if we were on the bus and anybody else picked on me, he would defend me. So it's kind of like that with the hobbits, where there might be some pecking order things going on. And your loyalties to each other, but then there's going to be this fellowship focus, who is someone that you're going to declare and then say, if we were in a situation where we needed to, we would kind of be watching out for each other. This first adventure won't need it. There's nothing wrong with declaring it, because that's something that's part of the features of the game. But we are going to run it through just as the adventure is described in the adventure book. And there's a lot of pieces that I'm not including because they're not in here.
Yeah, so this is the starter set, and we are evaluating the starter set as to see how good a starter set it is. As I mentioned earlier, the problem with most role-playing games is they try to front-end load too much information. We want basically that you open the box, crack it open, hand it around, and within 5 to 15 minutes you're playing the game.
Especially for the players.
Especially for the players. But that the GM shouldn't, if it's a first-time GM, they should be able to just do it and just jump in. Beckme lets you do that.
Possibly,
and,
yeah.
And for playing, Cthulhu lets you do that for playing, just
Right.
not for the GM. And in theory, this one teaches the rules as you go. So we're not going to front-end load the rules anymore. We're just going to jump into the story, and then as such situations come up, try to go. Remember, this is very railroaded because it's an introductory set. Assume none of you have any prior role-playing game experience, nor the GM, the Loremaster. And so it's going to be very much by rote this first time, to see how it does for first-time gamers.
And then that'll be good for feedback.
Exactly.
At the end, to say, how do each of you think this would work for someone who'd never played it before?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
so,
you. This is called A Conspiracy Most Cracked. And so, as this adventure unfolds, Mad Baggins is at it again, and has gathered in Bag End a new cabal of adventurous spirits, whom he's named the Conspirators of the Red Book. And in order to basically gather these people and gather notes for his Red Book, he's asked these friends, under promise of payment and a bit of adventure, to help him confirm some important details about the history of the Shire and its people. And I'll, of course, unload the rest of the information as I go.
So one thing is, this I think should be the handout for new players. With each character sheet, it should be included. It says, a strange invitation from Cousin Bilbo, mentioning that he's in need of help. Most odd. But then again, a great many things about that particular hobbit have been odd ever since that business with the dragon.
That's a good one.
Nothing wrong with taking a stroll and helping old Bilbo out, I suppose. After all, there aren't any dangers to worry about here in the Shire, ... So
that's the
that should be a
invitation.
little, exactly.
Yes.
That's the part that should be
Yes.
read aloud, but it would be a handout.
That's a good note.
Yeah.
Good note for that. Yeah, so then you've all gotten this invitation. All right. So each of you has, upon this summons, been intrigued, and you have packed up some things, some food, some perhaps some useful items that would go along with your personality. And you'll see on your character sheet there is probably one of those items down in the bottom right corner where it says traveling gear. And that helps you with certain kinds of things that you might have to do. So, after quite a long walk under stars that have come out blazing and bright after an afternoon of heavy rain, you've finally come to the round green door of Bag End at night. What better time to gather for a conspiracy? And Bag End, of course, is the home of the strange and famous Bilbo Baggins. Standing there upon the
Baggins?
mat, you wipe your feet off of mud because, of course, that's what all respectable hobbits would do when entering a hobbit hole. And you find yourself surrounded by distant relations. Looking at each other, you recognize each other. Yes. There's Paladin Took and Drogo Baggins, Rory Mac Brandybuck, and look, Primula and Lobelia Esmeralda. There's so many people here, and you're all distantly related. It seems as though Bilbo called for a collection of cousins to join him this evening. Who wants to ring the bell first?
I'll do it.
So just as Paladin reaches for the doorbell, the door is pulled open, and none other than Master Baggins himself comes out and stands there at the front hall. He offers each of you an energetic greeting. So comes along. Oh, hello, very good to see you all. Yes, hello. Excellent. Oh, I say.
Oh, it's good to see you. Oh, really good to see you again. Yes, I'm glad to see you. It's a wonderful time.
Oh, my goodness. Those Tooks. Yes, well. Yes, thanks very much. You see his other hand's kind of fiddling in his vest pocket here, nervously.
As proper nod.
Yes, very nice. Oh, yes, hello. Yes. Welcome
Bilbo
to you.
Baggin through the letter hole again, are you?
Oh, yes. Oh, Rory. Thank you for coming along. So good to have you. Well, I see. I shouldn't keep you on my mat. Please, come on in. And so I usher you in. Bilbo ushers you in with a plethora of welcomes, thank yous, and lovely to see yous. So as you enter in, you've been swept into the warm embrace of Bag End and led into the parlor where a lovely fire, just imagine it crackling there, fresh mugs of ale are right in front of you, and plates of dainties, of various kinds, delectable smelling, some from the larder, some just freshly cooked or baked. Yes, you help yourselves.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, it's just like an extra meal, isn't it? And several cushioned chairs and sofas offer a much-needed spot of rest and relaxation.
Oh, yes.
Bilbo, you notice, has a twinkle in his eye, and as he ushers you each into a seat, he takes none for himself. So a few moments, because that's all it takes to finish your plate of food, the first plate, of course, you see that Master Baggins is obviously excited and can no longer contain himself. He places one hand behind his back and another in his vest pocket, standing tall to ensure he has your attention. Okay? You are all undoubtedly curious as to why I've called you here this evening. Well,
Oh, yeah.
yes, well, and in the firelight you see is causing the twinkle in his eye to dance merrily, and I point towards the parlor window. I am hoping you will partake in a little adventure. You see, nothing so grand as my own, I'm afraid, but I have a little bit of a question for you in return for your aid. I was wondering if you would help me with this adventure, and in return I would provide each of you with a place in my memoirs. You see, I'm writing the Red Book of Westmarch. You see, it's full of great things, and so you would be like part 2 almost. After my adventures, I hope to add more interesting details and about the history of the Shire, and that requires us to retrieve certain, shall we say, wonderful items. And because of this, I will give you a fair share of my eternal gratitude.
I want a double share.
Yes. So he grabs a glass of wine, off of the table, and I take a sip, and kind of stands there, kind of surveying each of you, gauging your reaction. Now I know what you're thinking. There goes old Bilbo again, taking after that wizard Gandalf, and sending you hobbits into the blue. Well, I can assure you, It is nothing of the sort, my dear cousin Lobelia. Just a little trip to Mickle Delving and back to recover what one might call a family heirloom. Right? And we all know how we feel about heirlooms, don't we? Yes, yes.
Most certainly.
Yes. So,
That's my
and
grandfather's golf club.
what belongs properly to oneself and not to another. Yes. Well, anyway, so you see, the Matham House in Mickle Delving has many different treasures from our history, doesn't it? And one of my family's heirlooms has, shall we say, been permanently borrowed. So let's just talk about this for a moment. You see, I'll tell you what it is. Lean in a bit. It's a map of the Shire made by my own ancestor, the old Took himself, with special features on it, and perhaps even treasure that no one knows about anymore. It's been forgotten, you see, and so therefore this map of the Shire would be quite helpful for us. It's got all sorts of precious annotations and oh, now I've sent many letters to the custodian. You of course would be thinking, have I done the proper thing? As we would, of course, as
Yes,
hobbits.
have you done the proper thing?
I
Bilbo?
have twice. I've
Right.
done the proper thing. I have, just to keep my somewhat tattered reputation intact. I have sent many letters, in fact, to the custodian, Mal the Slowfoot, asking if I could have it back, even offering fairly generous donations. But for some reason, she's provided no replies, being slow in the replies, well as of the foot. So, I thought we needn't tell her, or her husband. I mean, after all, we're talking about something that belonged to my grandfather, and that would not be out of place here in Bag End. Most of all, we needn't alert that pesky dog that the Slowfoots have. Set the guard the place, sharp as a tack, that beast. And he sniffs me out every time I've come near. You see, that's why I can't go on this small, respectable adventure to recover what belongs to me. You see, that's the problem. So I just need a bit of help from you. And besides, I know some of you place more value on local gossip than others. And even just being seen at night in the company of mad Baggins might be enough to ruin your reputation forever. But, for those of you with spirit, and I know you all have spirit, I have, in fact, you have it in spades. All right, I'd have not called you here tonight. Won't you please aid me? And he strikes a pitiful pose. Won't you please aid me in this errand of particular importance, my fellow conspirators?
Oh, of course, gladly.
Oh, thank you, Paladin. So good to have your help. Will anybody else be joining him?
But of course, dear Bilbo, cousin, dearest. I would be more than happy to help you make sure that a proper artifact goes to you as it rightly should, of course.
I see. Well, I'm so glad for your support, Lobelia, of course. And of the rest of you, what say you?
Doggo, what do you think?
Well, Amelia, it's of course up to you, but it is the rightful property of Bag End, and he is the closest we have to a local historian.
Well, if you say so, I will follow your lead in this.
Okay.
No, Bilbo, you're a good fellow, but I must ask, I mean, first of all, it does seem to me that the Tooks have as much right to the Bagginses to a map of old Tooks, the Intooks themselves. And I do have to wonder, you're a fair hand with a pen, as I recall. A good man with a quill.
Indeed.
Now, if it's the information on this map you're looking for, I mean, I certainly see, the value of having one's own ancestors' property close to life.
Well,
It did seem to me as though you were a bit interested in the contents of these messages, and I do wonder if you haven't, it would be the polite thing to ask, Slowfoot if you could copy the map before taken the drastic step of securing it.
Well, the problem is, dear old Rory, is that she's just never replied at all. I mean, not even to say that I could come and make a copy. So, you see, it's been now 2.5 years since I began asking for her to allow me access or to send it my way. So I think what should be done, even as Rory has suggested, is to make a copy of this map. But you see, I need my study. I need my special pens with the nibs and of the different colors. And I think at some point it is very possible indeed that I would return to the Mickledelving, to the particular Matham house, the map of article in question, or a facsimile thereof.
Do you think
Well,
there's a
I must say
moon
this.
ruins like in your old book?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you think there might be moon ruins, like you described in your old book?
Well, that's kind of a closely guarded fact. Yes.
She tried to say something as well.
Yes, go ahead, please. And what was that you were saying, Rory? I didn't quite hear you.
I was just saying that's an interesting thing you said, but it does sound for certainly as if possibly a party ought to go out and make sure that old Miss Slowfoot is all right.
Yes, but I count on you for helping to make sure that nothing uncanny happens on our journey, and I know you'll keep us on the straight and narrow. Okay, but now that I've got your cooperation, I'm just really excited to have your help now. Thank you so much. And of course, I think that perhaps you might want a little bit of night's rest. And I have several very comfortable beds to offer for you. But perhaps you would like another plate of food, I suppose.
Oh, right. Definitely.
That sounds lovely, dear Bilbo cousin. Dear cousin.
Yes, we have established I'm dear and I'm your cousin, yes?
Yes.
And anything else?
Oh, I can't think of anything.
Right. Well, I've placed a very nice set of furniture. Yes. And simple furnishings in each of your rooms. And I did make sure that a specific number of things were in your room.
Do you need help with the dishes?
No. I'm fine. Please have some more scones. So at this point then, Bilbo,
Yes.
all
I'm going
of
to
the
hold
hobbits
off.
then.
I need to fit into the wedding suit.
Me too.
Okay, so a little time compression. So you guys all have a good evening's sleep, and in the morning, the
I
morning
just want
dawns.
to go to my room to see if Lobelia's bed is actually bolted to the floor.
During the night, says, "Come, come." Yes, you'll notice
I'm
that
opening up every
the hallway
door.
that opens into the rest of Bag End. Curiously enough, the hallway that all your rooms are on is locked at night. Okay, no. So all of you get a good night's rest, and so now you will have to think about this. The morning dawns bright and clear as you wake up and come out for a nice hot breakfast. And you have, of course, the obligatory cup of tea by the fireplace. But Bilbo seems very excited and nervous for you to get off and get going. The green door is kind of ajar, and from through the doorway you hear bird song. Certainly it is a wonderful morning to go off on adventure. Perfect for a nice walk about the Shire. And so each of you with about a week's worth of food on a pack, but not to look too much like you're going on a long journey.
A week's worth of hobbit food, it fits in a pack, not a wagon.
You're hoping to
Small cart.
You're hoping to
Does that include the leaf?
a week of snacks, shall we say?
Okay.
Because you're going to be mooching off of various relatives, no doubt that you will find along the way. Okay. And of course, we must not forget the
There's
inn.
lots of inns.
There's inns and taverns. Yes, there are. So, all right. So as you leave Bilbo's house, and he waves to you, and he basically gives you indications for, he says, now listen, the best way to get over to Mickle Delving is not to go down through Bywater, because everybody will see you leave from my place. And that would be very suspicious. We don't want to arouse suspicion. So, instead, what I'm going to counsel you to do, the best thing to do is listen. And then he basically gives you directions for how you need to go north from Bag End to Overhill, which is a small village, and then to turn west across the country for a few miles before crossing a shallow point in the water, which is what they call a small river there. And then after crossing the Bywater Road, they will reach the East Road and set out west towards Waymeet, where they'll take rest for the evening before arriving at Mickle Delving the next day. Yep, down to the East Road, then to Waymeet. And that by that point, then they can use the East Road to get to Mickle Delving, because nobody in Bywater or Hobbiton will see you leave the place, which is the main thing you're avoiding. Because you can be together on the road, nobody cares, but leaving Bilbo's, right? All right, so off you go.
Lopelia, that teaspoon goes back.
Bilbo's
My apologies.
So then, as you all leave, you find that as you're thinking through this, that even though it's a beautiful day, the first true obstacle reveals itself soon after you leave Overhill. As you approach the water, it has become swifter with recent rain. Remember, yesterday it was really rainy in the afternoon. It rained for several hours, so the bank it's swollen up there. And it will not be just an easy swim across. The shallow ford where Bilbo told you to cross looks a bit more treacherous. So you will need to consider your circumstances and find a solution. This is where you're going to role play, talking together about what you think you would do or what you might want to do.
Point of note, for new players, this would be overwhelming.
Would it?
For new players, what you do is you give them 1 or 2 or 3 choices.
Got it.
You lay it out for them, because
Yes.
otherwise they're going to mill about.
I'm so
knowing
not
what
used
do.
to having that.
Right, for new players.
Yes, yes.
Experienced players, great. Leave it open-ended, sandbox, not a problem.
Right.
But new player, new GM, that's going to be too much. So,
Very good.
what are the 1 or 2 options that occur to us up front?
Okay. It occurs to your group as you stare somewhat with dismay at the swollen river that you could try, of course, swimming across the water, or you might want to kind of scan along and search the banks of the river for something useful that might help you. What do you want to do? Swim or look for something along the riverbank?
Oh, look, it looks like Bilbo was wrong on some of his
I can't
guidance.
see Elizabeth's screen, so just so you know.
Well, she stopped sending video.
Oh, okay, that's fine, but I meant
My video is sending. It
not
looks
a
like
problem, or you can, Elizabeth, just say a word to make sure I don't miss you, that's all. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now it's
There.
back.
Okay. It must have lapsed. I did not actually turn it off.
Oh.
Go ahead. So, you were saying, so what is,
Oh, Bilbo was wrong about his guidance. Looks like we'll have to solve this ourselves.
What part was he wrong about?
No, I think this is not a very good characteristic.
Not a very good clearing here. How are we supposed to get across? I can't swim in that.
I'm just going to trudge right through.
I can't do that.
all right, so are you saying, Esmeralda, that you're going to just go for a swim because
Yeah.
you like athletic things?
Yeah.
All right.
I think these...
I'll join her. That looks like a great day for a swim.
All right, so
I'm looking for a proper way to get my fiancée across.
yes, you
I'm
may
going to
choose
wait there.
different ways to get across. What was that?
I'm going to wait there.
Okay, all right. So it looks like so David and Daniel's characters, Lobelia and Esmeralda, are going. No, sorry, it'll be David and
Daniel and
Hawk.
Dan.
So it'll be Paladin and
Esmeralda.
Esmeralda. Okay, so Paladin and Esmeralda are going to choose to swim. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then, and what do the rest of you do before I get back to their turn?
I'm looking for a proper way to cross that won't get mud in my fiance's toes.
Okay, so you're looking around. And Elizabeth, what does Rory Mac do?
Loremaster first notes that is an interesting way to say that he's afraid of the water, but does not note that out loud. But yeah, if I think Rory would be looking for something to use as a very first, not actually like has a problem with swimming in the rain. Everybody's already wet, but it doesn't. It seems more proper to boat if possible.
Okay, that's fine.
Boat.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And just so you know,
We can say raft, Robo, that's fine.
right.
Or a bridge.
Bridge.
Maybe there's
Bridge.
Bridge is better. Bridge is better.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to you two, the swimmers, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity for to see if you found something that allows you to get across more properly. All right, so we're going to start with Daniel. You're Esmeralda,
Yes.
and you are going to need to look on your character sheet for where it says athletics. To cross the water requires an athletics roll. To do this, you'll notice that your character sheet has a number of pips next to it, or little diamonds. How many do you have?
1.
Okay, so you're going to take out a d6, and the d12 is always going to be rolled with every roll. So you're going to go ahead and roll both of those,
Okay.
and we're going to measure that against the target you're aiming for is actually underneath strength. So that's the target that you're trying to reach, which for you will be 15.
Okay. 5.
Okay, so you go out and have a wonderful stroke. You clearly have swum before.
Have a wonderful stroke.
Not that kind of stroke. You have a wonderful
I
swimming.
wasn't the only one.
You were.
Yes, you paralyzed. Now that would be a Sauron eye. So
It's a side stroke.
yeah. Yes.
Just the one
Unfortunately,
side.
it's not your best side. So what happens is the swift current sweeps you very quickly back, spluttering to the
no.
bank that you started on.
Oh.
Meanwhile,
Yes.
you try as well. Let's have a roll.
All right, I got 9 and a 3.
Okay.
12.
12.
12 altogether.
Also, you make it out to like further than Esmeralda, but you're right about the middle of the current.
Oh, it's cold. Oh, it's swift.
Yes,
Oh,
and
my.
it pushes you back to your bank again.
Oh no! So there has to be a better way.
So the three of you are quite
As I
worried.
wash up.
I help her out as well.
Yeah, it has mouth.
Bedraggled.
But somewhat bedraggled, yes. All right, so
Oh, that's not the way to do it.
so Rory,
We tried that one
Thank
out.
you for
Don't I
testing
can-
that.
I just look at you both and just this kind of like head nod as I still continue to look around
Well,
for
we all tweet
with
on
your
that girl.
exquisite
I know.
umbrella, by the way, with your exquisite
yes,
umbrella
I've been holding it this
the whole
entire
time. Yes.
Too bad we don't have a good wind to tug you
So
across.
I'm going to ask Elizabeth. So Rory, does Rory want to look for something?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and use your scan ability to see if you can spot something maybe along the bank that might help.
Okay. Say again how I am rolling.
Okay, so you'll need the D12. And let's look at your character sheet. How many pips do you have there?
One.
One for
Yeah.
that. So you're going to roll a D6 and a D12.
Okay. 12.
Okay. And what is your heart target number in the middle?
In the middle, 13.
Okay. All right. You squint across the bank. It's basically the sunlight's somewhat in your eyes. You think you see something on the other side of the bank that looks maybe like a log, but you're not able to see it really sure. You might need your help from your friends who are also looking for a solution.
Hey, do you, bleh.
Go ahead.
Do you see that? Yeah, I got it on a rut. Do you see that over there? It looks like a log, Prim, and Drogo.
Prim and Drogo.
Oh,
Would you like
well,
to-
where's that?
Why don't you roll your scan ability as well?
So just the D12.
D12 for you.
Yep.
Oh, I can't. I can't get that. We'll try it. 3.
Yep.
Yeah, you never know, because if you get a Gandalf, it's automatic success.
Yeah.
So
Noted.
there's always a chance.
So you don't see anything. What about you?
10 out of 13.
Okay. It appears that you cannot see the log that she's referring to. So therefore, Lobelia. Oh. So you get 8. But you think that perhaps the swimmers could try as well to see, now that they've actually shaken the excess water off of their clothing.
Wait, by the way, I'm wringing it out right by Lobelia and then shaking up my hair
Oh, that's really,
right by her.
That's really probably annoying your character. Okay, so I'm going to ask Paladin. So Paladin or Esmeralda, would you like to roll scan? This is where the hope dynamic would have been really helpful to have included in.
We'll layer that in later.
10
10
out of 11.
out of 11. You do see the log. And you see where it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't tell if it's like good enough to be able to like bring across or not. It's possible. You confirm there is a log indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Can she assist, like saying, no, that log, right there?
Yeah.
Are you all blind?
So you can see that there is a log.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't tell us more about it. So at this point, okay, so listen. Your party has an opportunity. You've seen nothing else along these banks, but there is a log on the far bank. What do you want to do about this? Do you want to try to retrieve the log to see if it might help you cross the water?
Can we take a rock or a large piece of wood to the end of a rope and hook it like we're fishing?
Okay, Drogo has a good idea. Does anybody else have another idea about how to retrieve the log?
Well, I think we're going to want to do that if we can retrieve it. If it's any good, we're not going to want to like carry it by hand. So I think we're going to want to make some. It's on the side where only Lobelia is at the moment. Is that?
No, you're all on the east side of the water, and because I don't think Lobelia crossed.
No.
So
All across.
you're all looking across to the other side of the. Let me just pull this up here.
Somebody succeeded.
So you are literally west of Overhill, and you're on the east bank, and it's on the west bank that the log exists.
Well, Lobelia feels like she has succeeded so far.
Okay,
Nobody is on that side.
nobody is on the side with the log. That is correct. But an idea has been suggested to perhaps use a craft roll, and this would include taking a rope, which you have, and some kind of hook being fastened to it, or a rock or something that could then snag around the log. So let me, since you mentioned this, I'm going to say, Drogo, you may attempt to do it first, and if you don't succeed, the others may try as well. So this is a craft roll.
Okay, and there's no assist in other.
There would be
Not in the
with
basic
hope.
rules.
Okay.
Yeah, but not yet.
Yeah.
So, 15 out of 15.
Oh, very good. Okay, so go ahead and you are able to go ahead and role play. Okay, I'm not assuming you know everything. Okay, so tell us how you succeeded in being able to snag the log and bring it over.
Well, first I found a length of log about this big that I could tie it through and do a nice, good knot, secure knot. See, very good. And then I was able to hook it over the top and catch on a hole,
Yes.
a knot hole. Get it in there and then drag Can somebody help me drag this thing? It's kind of heavy.
So it takes all the hobbits.
Yes, you can do it.
Because, of course, the river is working against you.
Oh!
All right.
Great job, everyone.
Yes, Lobelia's
Standing there under
supervising.
the umbrella.
All right, you managed to get the log to your side.
Oh, very
It's
cool.
actually intact, and it's hollow. This is a nice hollow log that those of you who don't really want to get wet so much can clamber inside. And those of you who are a bit more adventurous can, kind of push along the side of it and be able to get to the other bank.
What about on it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's hollow, so you can be inside. And it's like a canoe.
Clarification.
Yes.
Is it a? Are we now in a boat situation or a bridge situation?
You don't need to worry about that because you're a brand new player. So you're simply going to. Oh, you mean
I don't like boats.
it resembles a boat? You probably don't want to look over the side.
Are we there yet? You haven't even gotten in the log
You
yet.
might not want to be in the front.
Come in. You can sit with me on top. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Hold my hand.
I will be
Hold
at
my
the
hand.
prow.
It's okay.
with
We
my
can do this
umbrella.
together.
I see.
You're with
kind of
me.
I
pointing
don't
there.
trust
Okay,
these
Seth,
new
raise your hand if you want to say something.
Elizabeth?
Yes?
First of all, can we all fit in this boat?
Yeah, it's a big log. This is probably about 8 feet long,
Okay.
and you can
I
all
think
fit.
we should find a big stick and raft across, like those boats in Oxford. Those,
Like a pole.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you do. You find a nice stout limb that would serve well as a pole.
Very wonderful, Rory. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Miss Bracegirdle.
All right, so you all find a way to get into it in a particular order. We don't have to establish that right now. And you.
I'm at the front.
Yes. Amelia's at the front.
Standing there with her
She,
umbrella.
she got up there quickly.
Yes.
Navigate. That's very kind of you to offer, Miss Bracegirdle.
All right, and who's going to push the canoe off? The log off and climb.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Oh, glad to do it. I don't mind getting wet. I'm already wet anyway. It's not-
I'll help him.
This might be a task for a steady hand and good timing. Perhaps Drogo and I could do that if Drogo, if it might make you feel better. Otherwise, I'd be happy to do it
Well, I'm already
myself.
wet, so why not? We're already both wet. We can both do it.
How about you just get in the boat?
Oh, fine. Splosh, splish.
Or
It's
you
not a
can
boat,
sit on
it's
the
a log.
side.
It's a wet log.
Water
You can
now
help
is
guide us from
splattering
the
on all of
outside.
you.
I
Okay.
am quietly tapping the bottom of the log.
So
going,
we have
"Oh, yeah."
two soaked hobbits in the middle with
Very important job for you, Paladin. If you could look out for rocks, we need a sharp eye to look out for rocks.
Gladly do so. But I
I
shake
look up
myself
for
off
rocks.
like a wet dog.
yes.
Splatter, splatter.
It's very disturbing. Yes,
And I crawl, I walk, just clump to the front, rocking the whole log.
Yeah. Meanwhile, yes,
And-
Lobelia is shielding herself.
Yes.
All right, so you managed to, through your ingenuity and other things, are able to cross the river known as the water, and you arrive on the other bank about 20 yards downstream. You find a nice little kind of landing, a little sandy bank, and then you manage to all clamber out. If you clamber out, you're able to get to the other side, and thankfully the
leap to the other
hot
side.
sun dries you quickly, and you find yourself just after a while. You have a very good walk, and you get to the East Road. So
Whistle
you're now,
as we go.
Yes, you're on the East. Yep, and you come down to the East Road, and actually you're feeling pretty good. Like, this is a fun adventure, and we've managed to accomplish a few, overcome some obstacles, and you now see just ahead of you the village of Waymeet, and it's evening by the time that you arrive. How much time do I have, Hawk?
Plenty. It's 9:40. There's a clock right behind.
I have
John
this.
there.
I just don't know when I'm supposed to stop.
We
For break.
take a break around 10.
Okay.
We'll take a physical break.
Very good.
Yeah.
You walk into the village of Waymeet. It's quite active in the evening, actually, and your stomach is growling a little bit, and you hear your neighbor's stomach growling. Growl, growl. You've only had
We should
a big breakfast at Bilbo's place, and you've stopped, of course, for luncheon. And then there was that time when you were under the shade of that one tree where
Of
you
course,
had
we had to have tea.
you had to have tea.
Cakes.
I mean, but really, it's
But what about second breakfast?
We have-
this has been, harder than usual for you. It's like this is minimum rations.
We
for
haven't
you
had
guys.
dinner and supper yet.
I know. Yes. Yes. So, and you didn't have a second breakfast either. You're noting.
Oh, we
No,
didn't.
it said explicitly we had second breakfast, doesn't it? I thought it said explicitly we didn't leave till second breakfast today.
Oh,
Is
right.
that-
We didn't leave until after second breakfast.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought it said that explicitly.
Okay. It could be, but I don't think for play purposes we need to camp
Okay.
out on that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway, you're in. The point is, you're walking in. Your stomach is hungry, and you see that there are tables set outside the Walking Party Inn. And you look at yourselves and you say, "By gum, we're a walking party."
How perfect is that?
Party on,
It was
Garth!
made for
Do
us.
you decide to go? So there's tables set outside the Walking Party Inn. You see, it's got the little sign waving, in front of it with a light breeze, but it's still comfortable. And there's, the silhouette of several people walking on, so it's the Walking Party sign. And there's some people sitting at the tables, and there's obviously people inside as well. And it's just now becoming twilight. The sun has gone down, but this is summertime, so you're quite comfortable. Do you decide to go into the Walking Party Inn of Waymeet, or do you keep going? And you are getting a bit hungry, and there is, of course,
Oh, my stomach's
rest.
rumbly-tumbly hungry. I'd sure like to go in and get something to eat. What about you? Aren't you hungry?
I don't see why
Let's
not.
get something to eat.
Bit peckish.
Well, of course we
I
should
could
stop.
I think it'd be a good idea to stop.
It would be
Oh.
polite not to.
Oh, indeed.
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
Well, if nobody has any objections, then you go ahead and you happen to walk up to the inn, and as you see there, the people who are walking around and waiting on tables, etc., they kind of point you to inside, and you meet the bartender, and they get you a table. Would you like to be outside tonight or inside, my fine hobbits?
Outside?
I think outside would be dull.
Oh, lovely! We have a large one for your large walking party. Hey,
Well, thank you.
I couldn't help but notice that you've come probably from a little bit further east, along maybe Hobbiton, or further east than that too.
No, somewhere around.
What a fine umbrella!
thank you.
Yes,
Pacific
yes, of
Lakes.
course.
Yes. I'm
Yes.
looking forward to what we're going to have.
Oh, we have the best kind of food, you see. Okay, so, and then brings you out to a nice round table that already has several plates of the local appetizers and everything. And you happen to sit around this large table, and they bring out some food. And so there's tables nearby you. And you see that there's one person who's smoking a nice long pipe of pipeweed, and kind of looks over and is kind of giving the wink to Primula.
Wait.
Oh, I see. So he makes this big kind of smoke ring.
I blow another smoke ring through his.
Another hobbit says to Rory, and it asks you, you're not from Waymeet, are you? Yeah. Where are you going? What kind of fine errand are you going on this evening? Looks very nosy at Rory.
Well, I shake his hand. I say, nice to meet you. I'm coming in for Buckland. Oh, we thought we'd have a look at the Matham house. You see, my sister's getting married soon. Oh, we might take a look at those old patterns on. I thought it might be nice for her to see, some of the
Oh,
traditions.
the museum is so nice. Yes, we've been there several times. It's nice to take the family there. Is this your family?
Normal to go to the museum.
Well, this is my sister Prim. These are some other folks who met on the road.
Oh, Oh, very nice. This is not the guy who was eyeing you, by the way. Oh, very nice to meet you. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, Priscilla, you said.
This is my fiance.
Oh,
yes,
and what's
yes.
what's your surname?
Yes, I'm a brandy buck. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, very nice. And you are?
I am Drogo Baggins. Yes, those Baggins.
Oh, I see.
We're a proper Baggins.
Not the Baggins.
Not the wandering type.
Oh, are there really other kinds? I see. Well, it's been nice talking to you.
Cousin Bilbo.
Every time.
Well,
At this
those are
point, you realize talking together that maybe you're going to have to be careful about how much information you give away.
That's why I was going.
But now
Yeah.
like, because we're a big party going to a place.
you've got to
We're
figure
not
out
going to- yeah, we're
reason
not
for
going
it.
to-
Yep,
not
something
to-
believable.
Yep.
So
Correct.
give an innocuous explanation.
Exactly.
Yes.
And in fact, as you hear the whispered gossip nearby, they don't even mention the Madam House. It's all about Baggins. Oh, yeah. So they're somehow connected to him.
To damage control by congratulating.
What's a nice brace girdle doing among that?
What was that, Elizabeth?
I said I'm switching to damage control by loudly praising Drogo about his sensible thinking in crossing the river, and talking about his normal stores, and just the very, very boring details of a normal Baggins.
I see. Nice. Good job. Well done. That's great role playing. Does anybody want to strike up a song while we're here sitting at the table after your meal?
Oh, there is an in.
Well, if you want to, you can roll song because it's actually a skill that you have.
I would like to join in on that song.
And Esmeralda is particularly good at song.
Let's sing a song we learned at the Prancing Pony.
Why don't all of you roll song?
Okay.
Don't forget your D12.
Ooh, I got 1 T.
Oh,
9, 15.
Okay,
and a
so we'll
T.
start with David. What was your number?
Looks like 16.
Okay, that is definitely, you have
Yep.
matched it. Okay, so you met your target, yes? What did you get? Oh, by the way, were any of those sixes?
Yes.
Okay, 1d6. Okay, I'll come back to you. Keep that in mind, and I'll
Okay.
tell you the results later. Okay, what did you get?
I have a 1, I have a 6, and I have this
Sauron.
Sauron eye.
Ah, we'll come back to you soon as well and explain what that means. Yes, my fine purple
All
friend.
together, I have a 15. One of them's a 6. With the
Okay,
T.
and does that meet your strength target roll? Your target number? Because now it's based on-
Yes, just.
Just. And no,
Exactly
1-6 you said,
15.
correct?
Yes, and 1-6.
All right, 1-6. Very good. And how about Elizabeth, your character? How did they roll?
17.
Ooh, that sounds like it met your target number for strength. Do you have any sixes on your d6?
I got an 8, a 5, and a 4.
Okay, all right. So you succeeded. And how about yours, John?
I have 17 over 15 with 1 T.
Right.
6.
So 1-6. Great. So you also succeeded. And with what that 6 means, for all of those you don't know, is it means that you had a great success. So it's an intensifier to show it wasn't just the fact that you did well, but you did even better. And we'll come on to the next person.
I have a 9 plus whatever that's.
That is the Gandalf rune,
Aha!
which means you automatically succeed.
Huzzah!
Huzzah, and magic powers. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain to you the results of yours, starting with our friend Dan, who is Esmeralda Took. So Esmeralda, your character starts to kind of clear her throat and sing, but unfortunately, perhaps being doused in water earlier, has kind of made your vocal cords a little rough, and what comes out is kind of a squawking sound.
Okay.
And the others are just kind of like a little bit embarrassed.
It's not
and
even the
cringe.
same song we're singing.
Yeah, so that was a little cringy. However, and then the three of you, it's almost like a barbershop quartet of hobbits. But with let me explain actually. So Rory, so you succeeded, you are able to start the song. You get them going on a bit of a song with a certain kind of, some kind of ballad, perhaps, that's well known in the middle, near the Three Farthing Stone. In fact, this song is about the Three Farthing Stone and about how all of the Shires meet together there, and you get everybody's attention. And then right at the right moment, these three all chip in and are singing in harmony.
Three farthing stone.
And in fact, each of them takes a different part of the West Farthing. Let's see now. I have to look at this carefully again.
I'm an East Farthing.
The three meet together. The ones that meet together that are at the Three Farthing Stone is here, which would be the East Farthing, the South Farthing, and the West Farthing. Those are the three. So each of you takes a different part of the farthing, a different farthing for the song. And at the very end, for the finale, Primula, in her sweet soprano, comes in and finishes the song with a crescendo. And all the hobbits just stand up that are outside, and are standing up, and they're hitting the table. And hey, let's buy them all a drink. Hey, well done. And you guys all have another drink, and you're feeling very merry indeed. Even Lobelia's feeling uncharacteristically charitable and kind.
They come in pints. That's at the Dancing Pony. Yeah,
There you go.
that would be at the Dancing Pony.
Yes, yes. So you all have a great time. Yay! Okay. All right.
I suggest that they reprise at the next party.
Yes.
We're not the ones. In this
Okay,
campaign.
so
We don't
unfortunately, the owner of the tavern comes out and it says, "I am so sorry. Unfortunately, although our victuals are extremely good, we're completely booked up tonight.
Oh.
And we have no beds available.
Oh.
Not even a place for the, in the hay where you could sleep tonight in the stable. No, it's
Not even a single cot.
not even a single cot. I'm sorry, but you're in luck, my friends, because I have connections. In fact, there's a farmer named Bunce who lives just south of here. I mean, it's a quarter mile. Easy walk tonight. And Baldo Bunce is his name, and he has spare room in the stables. So I think you should go down there and talk to him, because when I've been full before, as does happen, a busy East Road, Bunce always takes in the extras, and he's quite able to help. So
Right.
I would recommend you go that way.
That sounds like a plan.
Is
Okay.
it not
Just
as
a
far
lovely
as
night,
Whitewell,
right?
is it?
Well, I'm sorry, what's that?
It's not as far as Whitewell, is it?
No, it's not that far. Really, it's just, I would
And
say,
it's a lovely night, right?
10-minute walk. Don't wander off into the hedge, my friend. Hey, wink, wink.
Ha, ha, ha.
I think you're done
Right,
drinking tonight.
right, yes, right.
All right. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Here you
Yeah,
go.
thank you. Yeah,
Yes,
have a
bye-bye,
wonderful night.
and-
You've been
and-
wonderful. Thank you very much.
Oh, wait,
Yes,
you haven't paid? Wait. You
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, Primula,
Oh yes.
We all
I
look at-
believe
we
it's
all-
your turn.
Camilla, you're really confused tonight. You've had a bit too much to drink, my friend.
No, I want that one.
Lobelia. How many hobbits are you engaged to, after all?
We all look at Lobelia.
Only the beautiful ones.
Oh, you're such a teaser. Okay, all right, so somebody pays.
Not Lobelia.
Nothing in silver, perhaps?
Nothing in silver.
Okay, you
You
have to keep your friend. Brother!
Let's see how many pennies I've got. Let's go say a few.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you managed to get down the
No
road.
wander into the hedges. That's right.
Yes. So you see, actually, quite soon that evening, it's a full moon, which is very nice.
Singing loudly and drunkenly.
Singing
the
loudly
whole
and
way.
drunkenly, yes. Well, some of you are, and so
I'm just speaking for my character.
right you are.
Corralling them as best a drunken
Yes.
herd can be corralled.
And so, who wants to approach Farmer Bunce? You see the lights on in his farmhouse.
Wait. I've been trying to. Sorry. Hawk O'Brien culture check.
Yes.
Is it more proper for hobbits in a mixed party to allow the ladies to sleep in a stable, or to do a proper camp?
That's a great question. So yeah, and thank you for asking it. In this case, as long as it's basically, it would probably be one side for the gents, one side for the gals. But the stable itself will be a very nice stable, because hobbits generally keep their place looking really spick and span. So it wouldn't be It wouldn't necessarily call for a separate camping.
And we're not
arrangement.
disrobing or anything.
Yeah, we're just just lying down with your pack for your pillow, and there's no you don't really have like tents or anything with you, so you really were hoping that you'd be able to sleep in the inn tonight, but unfortunately that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Lobelia will remember this.
You happen to remember, now that you mention it, that the Bunces are distantly related to the Bracegirdles. But in order to remember how well you relate to each other, you would have to make an insight roll or a lore roll, whichever you're better in.
And then before we meet
Insight.
let's take a break.
Of course, that is a 12, which my target number is 12. So,
You remember that there's actually some bad blood between the Bunces and the Bracegirdles. Something about a theft of some silverware.
Imagine
Do such a thing.
However, it wasn't you.
It seems
was not
your
me.
family has a reputation as well.
Yes, you could say it's quite tarnished.
Yes.
Wop wop. Terrify 1 and 11-year-old hobbit.
Now, wait a minute. Which way did the theft go? Because, there could be bad blood depending on who stole it. And, if there's some guilt to be exploited here.
Yes. But anyway, it wasn't your particular family. You just know there was something like, that could be awkward. I'll have to.
Stay
Don't
in
know
the
what I want to mention my
background.
last name, right?
yes.
Okay. So just as you come up and knock on the door, who does the knock, by the way?
I will.
Yeah, you're the oldest.
I'm dragging him back.
Okay, so Drogo, you knock. Tunk, tunk, tunk. And just as the door is about to open, you hear it's going to stop here.
Break time.
Break time. 5 minutes.
Physical break, physically get up, move around, all that good stuff.
Or change position if you've been
5-ish
standing.
minutes. It's always kind of a 5-ish.
5 minutes, 10 minutes? What are we doing?
What's that?
5 minutes, 10, 5? Okay.
Okay.
This one's like,
Oh, no, those are all
So
ours.
I didn't see her hand raised, so we need to make sure that we
I
have a
can't
way
see her
of
on
being
screen
able
at
to.
all.
yeah.
Well, before she was using the ding for the answers, could we use that again? So that's a nice.
Yep.
Yay!
Hello and welcome back to RPG Research, and we'll be back with the continuation of the One Ring Second Edition starter set first adventure playthrough. But now we're at where we do our little tips, tricks, and tools of the trade and lecture on this week's topics. So,
What are you doing?
let's see. So this is, Brian, this is where you could actually speak about this a little bit, and this is different between the starter set and the full version of TOR. The rules helping with intra-group role organization for norming to work out toward the better automaticity of Tuckman's performing phase. Roles built into Adventures of Middle-earth and the One Ring role-playing game help somewhat with this process. Guide, Scout, Huntsman, and Lookout. Applying these concepts in all of your other groups as a player GM can potentially help the experience, especially for new players who don't necessarily have these ideas.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. So character creation is very much like a balance between individual and also the group, and how each person contributes to the group. So you have these different roles that are established usually when you're on a journey. So there's three main ways in which you have three different kinds of phases of, well, I shouldn't say phases, three different kinds of adventure in the game. One, of course, might be combat. Another one would be council. It used to be called encounter. And then the third is, my goodness,
Fellowship phase?
No,
they've
before
changed.
that. We have we have council, we have combat, and journeys. Yes.
Journeys, okay.
So those are the three. So during journeys, you have these different kinds of roles. Scout, which is based on the explore ability. Guide, which is based on the travel ability. Hunter, which is based on hunting. And Lookout, which is based on awareness. And I mean, we're working through a starter set right now. Generally speaking, you roll up a character sheet, with your players, and there's a lot more involved in terms of the endurance is based on your strength, your basic strength, which is at the top left little number, not the target number, and then hope is based on heart. It's an adjustment of that, and so yes, you have a fellowship. You have hope points, this is again goes back to the whole idea of the shadow path versus the path of freedom and of human flourishing or hobbit flourishing, and the free folk of the West. So how you can help to them. So the hope can be used by yourself.
Let's focus for the moment on just those roles: Guide,
Just the
Scout,
roles.
Huntsman,
Sure.
Lookout. We'll come to those other things as we go
If
through
you
the others.
are going in a group, which is what you're usually doing, the guide's in charge of all decisions concerning which way to go. You're all going in a certain direction towards a certain thing, but you might go through the swamp, or you might go over the mountain, and there's a discussion. But at the end of the day, the guide will break that tie. If it's clear, somebody needs to make a decision, the guide will do that. The hunter, of course, is charged of finding food in the wild, because although normally you have a limited amount of food that you take with you, as you would do on an adventure, you're going to run out. So that's another interesting factor you can bring in, where there's hazards, successes or failures. You're miserable because you haven't eaten because the hunter came back with no food, etc. The Lookout, I should say also, these are based on these common skills, but those common skills can be used for other things too. The Lookout's in charge of keeping watch, and of course, that might be a general role that this person is keeping an eye during the day. At night, you're always usually setting watches, unless you're going to do time compression. You might just say, okay, you wake up next morning. But usually, especially if you're building up to some kind of combat situation, you're going to have people taking turns during the night. But the Lookout is the general person who is often maybe at the back of the party, keeping an eye out to see if there's anything following them. And that awareness would be really helpful, because they can say, hey, I see someone following us. And then that way you're not ambushed. And then finally, Scout, which is the one in charge of setting up camp and opening new trails, and that's based on the role of Explorer. So when it's getting towards evening, the Scout, whoever that role is going to help out. And that way everybody hopefully feels like they have a part to play.
And Now, I don't see it here in the basic set. In the full version, don't they still have your calling or whatever?
They do.
Which is basically your class. In D&D, it would be your class.
Correct.
Rolemaster would be profession.
It's a calling.
So each character has their class, right, or calling. That is not the same as these party roles,
Correct.
right? You can be whatever class or calling, doesn't matter.
Yep.
Every time you make camp or something like that, you can change around who does which of these roles. And that's an important distinction. And we know in classic gaming that it happens anyway. It happens de facto that, like, okay, I'll be on watch tonight. Hey, would you go get firewood and food? Hey, why don't you go scout the path ahead? Things like that. People fall into that. So this is great for new players that this is structured.
It is.
To help people think of these other roles that are completely separate from the mechanical class version
Correct.
of their character.
And I would argue that callings in the One Ring also helps you to work on fleshing out your character, not just smash and grab.
Right. Yeah.
So you can choose between Captain, Champion, which was the old Slayer, Messenger, Treasure Hunter, Scholar, and Warden. And these really, what they do is they give you kind of an excuse or maybe a backstory, a motivation or an aspiration. It also gives you a shadow path. So if you're going to be tempted in a certain direction, someone who is a captain, for example, who has certain leadership skills, that's going to be a distinctive feature that benefits them, but it's also a shadow path of the lure of power that can be appealed to by those forces that would seek to do so. The champion, again, is going to have certain skills, and that shadow path would be the curse of vengeance. Messenger has certain favored skills and even distinctive features. One thing that's different from the first, I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but the first edition had a lot more kind of like, oh, you've got distinctive features and you've got traits. The traits are gone. You have distinctive features. You have some kinds of cultural virtues that will be added to your virtues.
They got rid of traits, huh?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
That's strange.
So you have, it's a little bit more basic but the traveling gear, you can say, well, I think my character would have a harp or a pipe or an umbrella, and so those things can enhance and can be useful. For example, when you want to do a skill, and you say, well, would I be able to use my umbrella to hook onto the rope so I could, like, maybe, do some kind of zip line or whatever? And I'm like, well, yes, you can add 1d6 to your attempt because you have a tool that can help you.
Did they explain why they got rid of traits? Because that was... Huh,
Yep.
That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
Yeah.
There's some changes that are a little bit hard to get used to,
Okay.
but those are the roles. Those have stayed the same, and there's also stances, which we haven't gotten to. That's part
Right.
of
Well, yeah. Well, we won't worry about that.
Yep.
At this stage. Okay.
So you would normally have each person, when you're rolling up a character, they're going to choose one of those 6 callings. Yes.
One of the 6 what?
One of the 6 callings when you roll up a
Yes.
character with your players.
Yeah. But we were talking here about, again, the roles that are separate from the callings.
Good point.
Again, guide, scout, huntsman, lookout.
Yes.
That's very usable, and you can use it in any game system as a concept. It's not really locked to a specific rule set, though TOR fleshes it out. That is something that's very portable that we would recommend you
because
include.
it's cooperative, collaborative.
Exactly. And those concepts of those roles within the group. So we're talking about group dynamics for last week and this week. And so that helps with, so one of the challenges with Tuckman's, you have forming, storming, norming, performing. Forming is, hi, nice to meet you. Here's my special skill. Here's how I'm contributing to this project. Hi, nice to meet you. Everybody's on their best behavior and polite. And you're getting to know each other, but the project's not really getting done. And then you try to do the work, and you're all trying to be careful and polite, and then not much gets done. Storming is, okay, our deadline's approaching, right? This is the business world, but it applies totally to an adventure. We need to kind of get on the ball, and people start getting impatient, and they start stepping on toes, and people are talking at once and arguing and all these things, and it varies in the dynamic of the group. But basically, people are trying to figure out who does what. And if there isn't strong leadership, groups can get stuck there. But eventually, at some point, if the group doesn't fail and collapse, which does happen, they get to norming, where they say, okay, David, will you tonight please be the hunter? Dan, will you please be the lookout? I'll be the guide, you be the scout. And we're spelling it out. And we're saying, okay, this is what we're going to do.
We're settling
and we
into
have to
certain things.
verbalize it every time. It's not automatic. but we're now starting to get functional about what our tasks are.
And there's some acceptance of like, oh, well, this is...
Yeah, and I'm good at this, and you're good at that, and we've kind of figured out each other's strengths and weaknesses to a degree. That's norming, and you can get things done with norming. It's just not highly efficient, and you don't have a high level of flow state, a group experience flow state, things like that. These are groups that will succeed at a project or an adventure, but it won't be an exceptional success, if you will. But if you can get to where that's automatic, where the GM says, okay, you've come to camp for the night, and David goes, I do this, and I do this, and they declare to the DM, and it's all automatic. We don't have to tell each other what to do. It's all automaticity. It's automatic. And we know in a battle who to cover who, and when we're trying to solve a puzzle, who does what. And it's that unspoken thing, and we're now a cohesive, synergistic group, rather than a bunch of individuals stepping on each other's toes. Now we've gotten to performing stage. And that's where incredible things happen in projects. That's where you hear about the really amazing things, like when we did the .com days, and there's this incredible in the trenches experience. And just everybody knows everybody's strengths and weaknesses and covers each other automatically. And you just perform really, really highly efficiently. In agile methodology, you're getting to velocity where you're doing things, you can do a lot more things much more efficiently in a shorter time.
And in
and
one
better
shot,
quality.
you can't do this.
In one shot, only experienced gamers can pull that off. Inexperienced gamers, it's not going to happen. Well, with experienced gamers, if you get this, you can get through the whole forming, storming, norming, performing in a single session with experienced gamers who have had the right training and know how to prepare for this.
Clearly.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, but you can. And when you get to that, then you're much more likely to have group flow state. So in the other phases, individuals could have flow state experiences. That happens at all phases potentially.
Real happiness over a player's success, real sadness over...
That's not so much about flow state, that's just the immersion part of it. The flow state, we've gone through the definitions before, but which is where you lose all worry or consciousness about everything outside of what you're doing. So in sports, it's called being in the zone. And just that intense focus and aptitude and ability and just really doing well at your task. So everybody is in that imaginary bubble together as a group flow state, right? And we've observed it. It's a visible thing we can tell through body language and interaction and ignoring external stimuli. Like I'll drop a book on the floor, a loud boom, and if they're not immersed, you'll see them jump and look over. If they're immersed, I'll do it and there'll be no reaction. No physiological response at all to external stimuli. We've now got group flow state. And generally you got to be in the performing phase. You can do it in norming, it's just less likely. And you can have it even in storming state, it's just, again, less and less likely. So these can all help towards that, because if you know each other's roles and how to cover each other, you're bumbling along less, you're in norming.
I see. It helps you
You've
get
normed.
towards the performing.
You've gotten to norming, and now with practice you can get to performing, and then you're more likely to have a group flow state in those amazing sessions that you hear people tell war stories.
And you're also more in character than in player mode.
Right, exactly. You're just immersed in the situation. So that's why that's a useful tool for all role-playing games, and they do a wonderful job. Any questions on that, Elizabeth? Or comments?
I am kind of wondering how likely that deep state of immersion is for more sensitive or jumpier people, because I really don't see myself getting so immersed in anything except a book that I would not notice if somebody like loudly dropped a book on the floor.
So if you read a book and you get to that level of immersion where you might not notice when somebody walks in, for example, have you had that experience?
I mean, the only time I know that this has happened is somebody claimed they were shouting at me in the playground when I was 8.
Okay, well, that's,
yeah.
This is something that, again, is remarkable about role-playing games, is people who've... I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, but at that point, nobody had actually jumped me from behind, so, you know.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if we're dealing with PTSD and other, hypervigilance, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
That being said, what's interesting about role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games specifically, is people who have never experienced flow state before are much more likely to experience it because of this activity than a lot of other activities. And it's very fascinating. We've had many, many people who've never role-played before and never really had a flow state experience before experience it for the first time in a tabletop role-playing game. And remember, we get a lot of people on the spectrum who have a lot of issues with sensory input issues that can be really distracting for them. Really, the fluorescent lighting can really just, the buzzing and flickering can drive them just on the edge. Things like that. When a group is going well and a game is going well and it's being properly facilitated, even those who normally, because we get comments all the time from teachers, from parents, from therapists, wow, this is remarkable. I've never seen this person be able to tune those things out and focus so exclusively in this way and not be hypervigilant, etc. Okay. And we've seen it with PTSD as well. Okay. Again, it's a probability. It's not a guarantee. These are the things to increase the probability. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the likelihood of people experience for the first time in this situation, especially non-sports people, like that's why I think what's so great about it, that it can extend that experience to non-sports people.
Right. Yeah. No. That's just another word for the same experience. Yeah. In any activity. And again, that's the most extreme example with the book. I do a whole bunch of other gradients of it where I just walk by the table or I come in through a door. Right, I escalate slowly and I wait until I see people are not responding to the stimuli, and then I raise it another bar and raise another bar. And that's how I've been developing the observed immersion scale to determine how deeply immersed people are in the activity in an observational external way. Because everything prior to this, like from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, is subjective self-reporting. And I've been trying to figure out an objective way to figure out how immersed somebody is in the activity, because that means we can do a lot more studies on a larger scale if it's more objective than the subjective reports that we don't, like, well, that's what they say, but that's really, and we do both. We get the subjective self-reports too, and then we see the correlation, and that's how we tell if the OIS has got we're trying to get to a 0.8 or better on the OIS scale with the self-report scales from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi and such. So these are things that can help improve that probability. That's what all these things are about, is increasing the probability of individual and group flow state experiences, because we found that's the optimal state for learning and for enjoying this and all of that.
Okay.
Anything else?
I wanted to clarify one. Oh, sorry, Elizabeth. Did you have something else to say?
Nope.
If you have more than 4 players, you can actually have more than one of those roles, but there's only one guide. So you can have multiple lookouts, multiple hunters, multiple scouts, but you can only have one guide. And that does increase your ability to, like, say if one person fails to find a camping site, the other one could.
Yep.
If you have less than 4, then you can double up if need be.
Okay. Any other people here, comments or questions on this so far? Okay, so into the lecture part. So we've already talked about, we're using TOR pre-gens, we're not using AIM. Okay, we've talked about the Lookout, Frontier, those different roles. So here's something to pay attention to, times when Paradox 1 and Paradox 2 occur. So if we want to go through that again and look at what we're talking about, we're talking about Paradox 1 and Paradox 2. So that is...
Question 1, I think, is it?
Is it? No.
Question 2 is Paradox 1.
Okay. So Paradox 1, Paradox 1 is...
when members are focusing on the task, social pressures and problems may be building that are being ignored while focusing on the task. But when the group takes the time necessary to address the social emotional issues, the task is not being worked on, increasing pressure to put focus back on the task.
And that's known as Paradox 1.
Yep.
And so this, you watch for this. So when we're talking about the adventure, when we're focused on the adventure, but some of us are like blundering in and like, I'm going to go jump in the river and try to get across and all this. And some people might be getting distressed about that. Like, hey, come on, let's be careful. Let's not have you just running off and doing your own thing. But I'm ignoring that. I'm not addressing it. Nobody else is addressing it. And we blunder through and eventually are Chris. There may still be some upset going on in the group. And this is a cumulative effect. If you have a player or a group of players,
you're always running in and charging into this combat situation.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. There's some
exactly.
frustration. Yeah.
All of those social emotional dynamics, and remember, one of the things about what is it you have to have, what is the minimum for a small group according to Tuckman theory, Elizabeth?
3 to 9.
Three is the minimum. And why is that, Cyrus?
To break ties so we can actually make decisions.
But why is 3 the minimum? Why is they say is the required minimum to have a small group?
That was my understanding. That was due to breaking ties between the groups.
Factions. The keyword we're looking for is the minimum required to have a faction. Or coalition, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Coalitions, yeah. It's the minimum. Is it coalitions or factions?
It's coalitions.
Okay, thank you.
We just had it last week.
You just did it. Okay, good. So that's the minimum required to have them. Because if you just have 2 people, it's one-on-one. Either together or not. But when you have 2 versus 1 or 2 versus 2 or 3, you start having groups like that. And so those tensions build in a group. It's just natural. It's the human experience. And at some point, you're going to need to address it or the group's going to fall apart. There's going to be so much built up animus or whatever, it will explode and implode. So at some point, there has to be moments where you can stop the adventure, the task, and focus on, hey, Hawk, you keep charging straight into there. You're not really asking anything else about it. And I'm going to say, well, I'm playing my character. Like, yeah, can we find a balance between that and this? And like, well, let's do that, And there'll be this back and forth until we work out to get to that norming and again, we're talking social contract and alibi, all that magic circle stuff as well. All these pieces are coming in. And has he had that yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Bleed theory and all that.
Yep. I have that saved on this.
Excellent. So those are really important to take into account. And that's the interesting thing is that what happens is when you're doing the task, none of that's really getting addressed. And when you're addressing it, you're not getting the task done. So we're like, you know what? We need to have a meeting about the dynamics that's happening here. Mm-hmm. Blah, 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 dynamic. We're not playing the game. Same thing. So again, this is business-centric, but it totally applies to the role-playing game experience. All right, so that's Paradox 1. Then we have Paradox 2. Oh, donuts. Dude, donuts. Okay. All right, so then we have... Okay. Here's the Paradox 2. So, David?
To have a self, one must fill a role. But to fill a role is to lose self. That's the paradox. Which means that, yeah.
Did you read the whole block, or
No, I just read the paradox.
Okay, yeah. So the whole block for this question is: humans have a need for group affiliation. Social needs are met when part of groups, including maintenance of self-concept. However, to be part of a group, one must give up some individual freedom, which may cause some upset, resentment, or even outright anger. Some people want to be in the group, but they simultaneously don't want to be in the group. And according to Goffman, it is, as David said, to have a self, one must fill a role, but to fill a role is to lose self. This is known as Paradox 2. Yes, Elizabeth?
That's interesting stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was typing. I just put in the chat a recommendation for a really good explanation case study of these two paradoxes.
Did you put it in RPG.LLC or Jitsi?
I put it in Jitsi, I'll put it in RPG.LLC.
Thank you, because remember in Jitsi it'll disappear.
Right.
I'll take a look at that, thank you.
Sure.
Do you want to briefly touch on what that study says?
Oh, it's not a study. It's a podcast episode, Judge John Hodgman podcast. There was people bring very, very small bore complaints to him for judgment, like my husband won't wash the dishes. And in this episode, it was a D&D group who had been together for about 13 years, and one of the players had started to take on a new style of play, which was really not the style of the rest of the group and was kind of inhibiting their play.
Okay. So it's disruptive to the group.
No, I don't remember
It
that.
was, he was going off in a different direction and it was causing conflict.
Okay. So you remember in Gamers 2 Darkness Rising, we have the group who usually has pretty maladaptive style of play, but it's their style of play. Murder Hobo style, Chaos Monkey, etc. And they bring a new player, and she completely changes the dynamic of the group, but one of the players freaks about it, right? Because she uses the wish to help bring back an NPC, etc., etc. and it changes. It creates a lot of friction in the group. This is also kind of reforming the group, right? You bring in somebody else, it changes the dynamics of the group. You now have to change what's expected, what's the norms, and she causes this major reforming. And that can cause a lot of storming and chaos. And we see as Cal, the character, the real rules lawyer, hardcore one, storms off in anger, right? And, later, luckily, decides to apologize. But everybody else really liked that new play style. So these are those opportunities to work through it. He didn't. He blew up and stormed off. Luckily they were forgiving and worked it out later. Right. So that's another example of where a different play style or way of doing things can be highly disruptive to a group, and not all groups survive that. Some do, some don't. Often it creates fracturing. They'll break off to two different groups, or they'll quit playing, maybe bad experiences, etc. So those are two very important things to keep in mind. Okay, behavioral guidance is really big for this chapter because of TOR and AIM. Mm-hmm. That is such a great thing that we love about TOR and AIM that we think is missing in D&D 3rd, 4th, and 5th edition. So let's talk a little bit about that. What are some of the behavioral guidance features in TOR, and are there any differences in TOR 2 and TOR 1 in that area?
Not major. They've added a little bit more on the effect of the shadow, which of course is that way in which the evil in Middle-earth, which of course is behind the scenes directed by Sauron, but that weighs heavily on the characters, specifically at different times. Could be through a maybe a blighted place, some place that has the effect of the shadow on it. But there are other sources of temptation and corruption. It's pretty much the same as first edition, but they've added on sorcery as another source, no pun intended, of that possible shadow. And you can, just as you have hope points, you can have shadow points, and when your shadow points rise and match.
Let's assume they're people who have never played TOR.
Correct.
Let's start with one of the most fundamental ones we really love, which is fellowship focus. Mm-hmm. Explain that a little bit. And its consequences.
Correct. Okay. So, fellowship focus is indeed a way for you to both benefit from, protect another person, but also by being specifically linked to them and their welfare, it can have also a negative effect if they're hurt in combat. They could that could have a because you're invested. You are seeking to help this person, so you prosper when they prosper, but and they get that benefit from that. But they also suffer, or you suffer when they suffer as well. There are a few changes in here that I'm still absorbing for this, but I'm just going to quickly refer to the source here instead of floundering. So, under Fellowship Focus, which is 55 in the core rules, it spells out how you adopt one. In the old first edition, you would basically choose one, and for the rest of that adventure phase, right? There's the adventure phase, and then there's the fellowship phase, which comes afterwards. Then you used to have to just pretty much stick with the same one, but now it's a little bit more wide open. You can kind of change that up.
Can we give an example in the stories of some fellowship foci?
Absolutely. So Sam and Frodo would be kind of like your classic. When Frodo seeks to leave to go, he feels that, okay, I am in this group of people, the Fellowship. We've got a large group, 9 people, but there's this closer knit kind of connection. Merry and Pippin would be another one. And it kind of, you kind of start to gel together, so Sam defends Frodo. In fact, when Frodo is spoilers, but when he's captured, you have Sam at one point temporarily for a short time taking on the quest of the ring, to take the ring So there's this kind of
What are some
element going on.
unlikely fellowship foci that we see?
Elves and dwarves, typically not, which is why when Tolkien writes a story, he's got this whole his legendarium that he's got in mind of these long-standing, deep,
Thousands of years.
there's grudges based on real events that are, and that's where, like, say, for example, the Hobbit movies didn't really, they make it more like, oh, well, I wanted this and you didn't give it to me, blah, 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 and now we've got this grudge. Oh, no. It's not a personal, it's usually not a personal one. It is a cultural kind of thing based on betrayal in the past. So that's not very common, which is why when you see Gimli and Legolas together, this is really remarkable. And that's really, it adds something really interesting to it, where you've got to come up with a premise, like why would they be together? What's the reason for that? So that can be a lot of fun too, but it would not be very likely. It could work with elves and hobbits and things like that, but again, typically you're going to find people who have a similar cultural background to you, and maybe a backstory.
And we see Gandalf and Aragorn.
It could also be, you could have people with a similar calling who would kind of have an affinity.
Sure.
So, yep.
So, some examples of how a fellowship focus would come into play, good and bad. Quick little examples.
Yes, not so much in Journey, more often and also not so much in a council where you're, going to choose maybe one person who's got a lot of courtesy, who's going to maybe speak for the group. It's going to be more often than not in combat. So each player can choose one member of the company as their player hero's fellowship focus. You can change that as well. And the bond does not have to be mutual. A hero who has been chosen by another hero as a fellowship focus is free to choose any other character as their own, which is easier with odd-numbered groups. So if you have a group of 5, that just makes it much easier. You can be like, oh, I have you, and you have him, and you. But what this means to is that you are providing support to your fellowship focus. So, for example, let's say that Lobelia notices that Esmeralda is in a spot of trouble, and she's worried about her. And so, as some creature's attacking her, she wallops that creature with her umbrella, and by basically not only just helping you get to give an extra D6 to Dan's character for when he's fighting. You can give support that way. Now the benefit of caring for someone comes at a price. Player heroes gain 1 shadow point whenever your fellowship focus is wounded or suffers a bout of madness, which is another feature to this.
We'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or is otherwise seriously harmed. And usually you have a shadow test to see whether or not you are affected by it or not. But in this case, you cannot prevent this with a shadow test. You automatically gain a shadow point because you're like, no.
Right. It represents the emotional, empathic
impact.
experience.
Absolutely.
And how that impacts your ability to function.
Yes.
Which is a remarkable thing. You don't see that often in role-playing games.
Correct.
That level of empathic, emotional, functional impact on the stats, your ability to function in the game, because of your worry and distress about someone else.
Yes.
That's powerful.
As a connoisseur of games, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No, this is open.
When I see that in games, I cling to them because they are, as you said, so far between. Even if they do it poorly, I cling to it as a gamer because I want that immersion that comes with that.
Yeah.
Don't Starve is a game that Amber and I have just picked up, and it does it really well. You see your companion in a fight, you start to take mental health points because you have a health meter, and it's really good with that. So I've seen that, and I'm a D&D nerd. That's where all my background is.
Sure.
They didn't have that kind of paradigm built in.
No.
DMs built it in. 3.5 had your not madness, but they had a whole different section for it, and it still felt clumsy.
Yeah.
This sounds really. I can see why this clean.
We created a rule for D20, so it's based on 5th edition, so it uses inspiration. But we have ported the fellowship focus from TOR into D20, and you could tweak it for other versions with a little effort that we found works quite well. not as powerful as Tor because of the hope and shadow points thing,
But that's a
but
seven.
it's in the right direction.
Cool.
And you can download that PDF from the RPG Research website in the slides
I
section.
will have to look for that.
Can you have a fellowship focus with an NPC?
That's a really good question. In the games that I've run, I have not, because I want these players invested as much as possible in those who have the most
could.
agency. But yes,
Yeah.
because for example, if you have a family, one way that you can do this is like in the first edition, you could have a holding, and as the shadow starts to affect your land, you may see your holding. You come back and discover at the end of your adventure that your holding has been burned to the ground, and your family has been abducted or has been slain, and so that could be an NPC kind of impact on you, but not during gameplay usually.
Yeah. The only one that I've seen an example of in gameplay is the bride and her hound,
Yes,
Mirkwood.
the woodman culture, which
Yeah.
by the way, that's I would say my number one sadness here is they, in going to second edition, really focusing west of the Misty Mountains. And Francesco, I even asked the question on a Q&A. They don't want to put in like a compendium of all the cultures that they've had in the past, so they've dropped woodmen completely. But I thought it was a fascinating culture. Anyway, back to your point, John. Yes, so you have a backstory of a woman, in this case, who has experienced some tragedy in the past, and this of course could be true of any character, and that has shaped maybe which calling. For example, a champion, which we used to be called Slayer, would be based on that whole idea of you've seen significant tragedy, and so you're not out there to just inflict harm, but you're there to try to right wrongs because you've seen a lot.
I'm going
of
to
it.
rein you in just
Go
because of
ahead.
time. So quickly talk about hope and shadow points and how those, and then how fellowship focus. You have a little bit,
Absolutely.
but go ahead and touch on
Okay,
those
really briefly.
And I think they still have the group pool.
Yes, they
Okay.
do, but the difference on the hope on that is there's some differences I'm still getting used to on this. Yeah, so everyone individually can spend hope, and what those hope points represent is that the free peoples are among those few who have cherished a glimmer of hope, the knowledge that as powerful as he appears to be, Sauron can be resisted and even defeated by steadfast opposition. Countless battles have been won or lost by alliances of the folk of Middle-earth. And so hope is this powerful thing that even the smallest, even those who have seemingly less power, can use to achieve feats of daring, or it can give that edge when you're normally struggling to be able, like for example, if we were using hope during the starter set, first adventure, it would allow you to then kind of, desperately trying to swim across the stream. So it's a limited pool of hope points, and you have to spend them before you roll. Okay. There is a group,
And that is quite different from first edition.
Yes. So fellowship, it is, because in the first edition you would spend it afterwards. So it is
Now we have
harder.
to predict.
It is harder on the
Yes.
player. It's true. Now fellowship pool points are not spent directly. Instead, they are only used to replenish spent hope. So let's say during a rest or at the end of the adventure, if you've got a campaign, you'd be like, okay, so and so used up a lot of hope points, and the dynamic going on is that if your shadow points and your hope points are getting closer to each other, it's this creeping threat where the shadow can become dangerous, and you can become miserable as a character. And so, in order to help your companions, especially if it's your fellowship focus, the idea would be like, hey guys, so and so seems to have really been, has in need of more hope here, and then you could basically use that pool to replenish one person's hope. Now, you want to talk about miserable real quick?
Well, quickly about that from that pool,
Yeah.
are you still allowed to pull from it without permission and then get the consequence, or did they get rid of that option? 'Cause that was an interesting feature before.
Yeah, I don't know.
So in first edition, that pool could be there, and I could say, "Hey, I'm low on hope. I need some hope points. Can I take it from the pool?" And everybody goes, "No, let's save it for later." Like, "No, I need it now. I'm going to take it now." You can go ahead and do that against the wishes of the party, but then you will also at the same time take a point
Well,
of
it'd be
shadow.
an automatic shadow point.
Right, you take a point of shadow automatically if you ignore the party's wishes.
Most of the time,
That was an interesting and useful dynamic.
Yeah, most of the time the
For
One
at-risk
Ring
groups.
tries to provide agency, but always with consequences.
Right.
And that's the
That's
structure.
what's critical
Exactly.
with these at-risk populations.
And then for them to realize like the cause and effect and how that works.
Exactly.
So with Shadow, I'll just briefly talk about this. So the idea is that as you, the shadow, of course, relies not only upon the instruments of war, but also the devious deeds of its servants to breed fear and doubt, and the temptations that dwell even in the hearts of the brave have ever been the shadow's ally. And so we think of Boromir, for example, and others who could succumb to it. But it is a creeping threat. So here's how it goes. There's certain things, certain misdeeds, for example, which earn you an automatic shadow point. Stealing, killing someone who's unarmed, etc. These are things that can trigger that. There are shadow tests also where maybe you're in an environment where you're strongly tempted. You see this hoard of treasure and you're like, it's been, maybe it's a dragon that's been, and there's perhaps some taint to it. Something evil has been associated with it for a long time. In order to take some of that treasure, you're going to have to pass a shadow test.
Barrow.
Yes, exactly, the barrow. Now the consequences, this is the important part, the consequences of shadow are that it becomes truly dangerous when the number of points accumulated by a player hero matches or overcomes their current hope score. So again, remembering that in the One Ring, all players are heroes. It's a heroic-based system. So, but over time, either because they've used up too much hope and they're feeling despairing now, or because they've accrued too many shadow points, now they match. And so when they match or shadow exceeds hope, that character is miserable. And this triggers certain things. This means...
And if I may, the interesting thing about that is rather than being a set point, it's a ratio.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Yes.
That makes it more dynamic.
It does, absolutely. The old one, the old Lord of the Rings board game that came out before the movies had a corruption spectrum on it where you would move it and Sauron could move towards you, or you could move towards Sauron depending on what's going on in the game. It's very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, very interesting. So here's the thing. Your D12, which is the feat die, normally speaking, you roll it, you get what you get, right? There's certain aspects of the game which allow you, if it's a favored skill, for example, to roll twice and keep, basically, its rolling advantage. Okay? And then you know how you would have disadvantage in, say, 5e, in D&D. Well, in this, if you are miserable, you are ill-favored on all rolls.
Disadvantage.
You are disadvantaged on every roll. So until, of course, your hope can rise above, and that could be through various means. But the only way to recover from such depths of desperation, okay, and this is saying you've gone below, you cannot gain. What this triggers, okay, at this point, is that when you're miserable, the player hero must experience a bout of madness. Okay, so when you go there, when you're at that tipping point, it starts out as a small one, and this is a violent outburst or a dangerous crisis that frees a player hero from the burden of the shadow, but that may have serious long-term consequences. And so there's always that interplay there. Is it?
I call it pulling a Boromir to different degrees.
Yes, and there's a lot of different levels to it. Elizabeth, did you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, so it's like having a spiritual migraine or being hangry. It's going to affect everything, and if it goes untreated.
Absolutely. Right. Yep. And the sources of shadow could be dread. So you're so afraid that this could actually trigger it. Greed can trigger it. Misdeeds, which are you acting in the environment, and sorcery can trigger it. And what's really fascinating about this mechanism is that with madness, the player has to describe how the character loses control for a short period of time, doing something they will later regret. And it be whatever the situation or context is. But it could be betrayal. It could be fear, lust, rage. And then afterwards, after each bout of madness, you take a flaw. So that flaw is a permanent part of your character. And so you've got the tragic hero thing going on, where they're seeking to overcome this because they know it is a problem for them.
Now, is that different? I thought in TOR1, the LM actually took over the character briefly in the worst case.
Yeah, you do.
And that's, okay, you still do that.
I think so, yeah.
In the worst case.
Yeah, you do, because you...
on dark side.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a temporary bout, and then they come back to themselves. What have I done?
Yeah.
And then, and there's actually a little shadow path thing where it's based on your calling. So, for example, if you are tempted towards Curse of Vengeance, you're going to become spiteful. That's a flaw. If it's not corrected, the next bout of madness is brutal. The next one is cruel, and the last one's murderous. So obviously, this is getting worse and worse. So you have to be really, really careful, and there's something broken. You have to be being careful how that's going to affect yourself and your companions.
Does that feel like you kind of covered what you needed to there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Any questions before we get back into the game?
Oh,
Yes.
one quick thing.
Go ahead.
So there is a redemptive opportunity at the end of every
Right.
session.
Right, cleansing.
You have a this fellowship phase, which allows you to do a lot of things. But one of the really neat things about it is that you can actually be cleansed from shadow points by taking a shadow scar.
Oh, that's new.
So there's elements to it. I'm not going to get into it all right now.
Okay.
The main thing is that you can, just because you have a shadow point doesn't mean it's always there.
Right.
It can be removed. Sometimes it might be that you need to create a song, go to Rivendell.
Yeah, you need some R&R
Be a
or something like
sanctuary.
that. Yeah, have some sort of
Exactly.
healthy break and outlet.
Yes.
Recover from trauma.
Yes, from
Yeah.
trauma. So
Go
it's,
to your therapist.
it's really mirroring, I think, well,
Yeah.
the real world. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Elizabeth? Any comments?
When you say skull, that's like what Elizabeth mentioned, and therefore that takes everything. Oh, sorry. You were talking about a shadow scar. So is this like um? Well,
For example,
Until it's a scar. Once you get a scar, then it stays with you like
Yeah.
Frodo.
Was that your question, Elizabeth?
yeah, but I was kind of from the wrong angle. I think I get it now.
Shadow, if it does not yet equal or exceed maximum hope, because that's endgame. You can replace all accumulated shadow with a shadow scar. This affects them like a shadow point, but cannot be removed except with the Yule undertaking heal scars. So it's almost like a very special kind of quest that is designed
new.
and tailored for something that it's not just
getting solace.
yes, it's
Interesting.
which I would
That's
say
a nice touch.
it is, and it's represented in the fact that if you think of it as 3 tiers, like here is the shadow points, and you can then remove those through these different things, and then the next tier is like a shadow scar, which
Emotional
could
scars.
only be removed through a very specific kind of thing that you can do, and then the third level is where Frodo has to go west, right, in order to because
He's so scarred.
he's so scarred.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little taste. Again, there's a lot more to it. We'll do that in future sessions. But that's a little taste of kind of what's in the more advanced rules. We obviously don't get into that with the introduction. Yes?
I'm sorry, one more thing. On Hope, you can actually spend Hope for companions roles too.
Yeah, to help each other out.
Yeah, you can
Right.
say, I spend a Hope point
Yeah.
for so-and-so, and then that you get an extra D.
But again, I actually like that you have to do it in advance. I never liked the, change your role after. For me,
Yeah.
with at-risk groups, that's very problematic.
Yep.
Right. To me, that was always kind of cheating. It's like, no, you can't control after it's happened. You have to give it your best effort. If you don't give it your best effort up front, then you run the risk it's not going to work out, and you're just going to have to deal with that consequence. I never liked that it was after the fact.
Yeah.
So I like that they've flipped that the other way.
Yeah,
I know that other people feel differently.
for sure.
It becomes more gambling with the other way.
Yeah.
And some of us are gamble averse.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump back into the role play. And so somebody knocked on the door, not my character, because I was pulled back.
Drogo had, because
Okay.
he is the oldest, I think.
And the door was, you could hear somebody moving behind and
Yes.
approaching the door, and take it away.
I knock on it with my walking stick.
And I've got you under control. And here.
The
stick
wide farmhouse door opens up, and you see a scowling farmer looking out and saying, Hey, what's up?
Oh,
What's
it's great to see you.
Okay. Don't know. Who are you all? I
The
thought you were
inn is
trespassers. Sorry?
The inn is full.
Oh, you're from the inn.
You got it.
Right. I see your friends maybe had a few too many at the inn.
I think +1.
I see. Well,
What was that, Elizabeth?
Oh, you know these young folks, they haven't quite learned to handle it yet.
so the farmer then changes his countenance and he looks at each of you with a beaming face. Well, of course, yes. I do have a stable that you can stay in. I'm willing to actually. I'm able to help you out, but I will have one condition tonight. You can sleep in my stable. It's quite nice and warm, and actually, it's not even just a stable. I've got other animals as well as a barn. You know, I mean, it might be smallish by some Hobbit standards, but it's a nice little barn. Very, keeps the heat well. Yes. Yes, I need to tell you that I have a problem. You see, my poor old plow mule Gertrude, okay, she has been really not been settled. She's been very, very agitated. You see, there's this very large owl in my barn, and I need someone to drive off this huge menacing owl that's in this barn.
Who?
No, it's a what, not a who.
Oh!
Yes, it's a big owl. You've got to drive it off, and then you're
Owl.
welcome to sleep the night there. Yes.
How is our decision?
So, I don't really know how I'm going to do
let
it.
me at it.
I haven't been able to do it yet.
Back
so,
here.
So let's see, ladies and gentlemen. Just there's different places there. You can. It's all yours. Just.
That's right, hospitable kind of you.
Oh, you're very welcome. We Bunces are known for our hospitality and for our long memories.
I'll gladly give it a good caning.
Well, I don't know. It's you want to be careful. Some of those big old owls are kind of wise, and they might come back to little.
How big an owl are we talking?
Keep in mind.
Well, for us hobbits, I mean it's
it could be nearly as big.
it's over half your size, mate. Yeah.
Oh dear.
So just try to get rid of it. That's all.
Right. Let's go.
My poor Gertrude just can't.
Back here.
Can't even do a job.
Back here.
She
Now, wait,
refuses.
can you tell us a bit more about this owl here, Mr. Jones?
Well, all I can say is that this owl came in, and every once in a while I hear it hooting out there, and when I go to try to get Gertrude to do anything, she just trembles, I say. So you
No, but these here owls, after they generally have a bit of an internal disruption, you might say. And I'm wondering if you've noticed what it might be.
Well, there's lots of mice in my fields, I'll say what. And I don't mind as it eats all the mice it wants to, but I don't want it in my barn, you see. So I think it's just been eating lots of mice in the field. But my mule needs some relief, and you're the ones to get rid of it.
Right, let's
So
go
it's not
get
a
rid
proper
back here,
barn
back here,
owl.
back
If your friend just breathes on this owl, it might just knock it out, I think.
I think you're right.
These woods around here, have you got any hollow trees that might be big enough for an owl of this?
Well, I don't rightly know. I think there's maybe a stand of trees just over in that field there, but I wouldn't.
That field.
Yep.
There you go, dear.
I
No, not yet, not yet.
Back here.
But I should say the best place, it might rain again tonight. So I would say that the barn is the best place for you to go. And yes, there are certainly other places for this owl to go. They're welcome to be out in the fields, but not in my barn.
Right.
Okay, let's
Can I
investigate.
go now?
Off you go then. Off you go. Good night.
Okay, he said we could go now.
Slam.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you all happen to.
It's not a proper barn owl, I take it.
Okay. So when Baldo is done talking, an eerie hoot rings out through over by the barn, as if on cue. And as you kind of carefully open the barn door, you see the tiny mule sitting idly in the rear of the place, and it stirs. Hee-haw.
There was
you
a
have to-
whole thing on Newsy yesterday about this guy who's kind of retired and focusing on raising abandoned and abused donkeys and mules and such and
Wow.
whatever, and just loving on them and all of
That's
that.
cool.
That was an interesting
That is interesting.
thing.
Well, this looks like an abused mule, and it needs. So it's really trembling in the back of the place,
Oh.
and and kind of darts behind some hay.
My heart
Fails.
goes out to it, and I start stumbling over to.
No,
Oh,
no,
poor
no,
little.
no,
no,
back over here, back over here,
no,
back
no,
here.
let me-
Primula.
Primula is going to
I
make
want
the way
you to
over
go
there.
talk to the
Hands
owl.
open. Oh, come here, dear.
Primula
Oh,
needs a
come here.
hug.
I tried to soothe
Yes.
the.
I
Soothe
hand you
the
a carrot.
beast.
Yes. Soothe
Okay.
the beast with the carrot I was given.
You're not going to soothe him with your breath right
Soothing the beast. Ah, yes.
now.
Yes. You can soothe.
That
You
way.
can try to soothe the beast, and that will require enhearten.
That's what I'm trying to do too.
Harden. Okay, so that's a straight roll. That'll be interesting. Okay. Even with the carrot.
Can I help? Because I was trying to go soothe the mule
Yes,
as
you
well.
can as well.
Yes.
Both of you can seek to enhearten the beast, which is basically what you do for soothing.
I have no ranks in that, so that's just.
But you wouldn't know that because
That's
you
right.
are
I
soft.
don't know.
And
That's
this
exactly.
one's using a carrot.
Yes, I'm using a carrot.
Oh, very good. You've got a carrot in your backpack.
Yes.
No, it was in my backpack.
Yes,
I
you
gave
did.
the carrot to her.
My extended backpack.
Oh, you share carrots. That's so sweet.
Don't rip your dice.
Well then, that's a 3.
7.
Okay. You both seek
Oh, you
trying to
poor
soothe it, and the mule just
thing.
darts out from behind,
Oh.
runs to the other side of the barn, and hides behind some other hay
it's
bales.
okay. It's okay.
Well, I think it's better off over there.
I think
He can smell you coming.
He's afraid you're going to eat him.
Flap, 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 flap. So, Elizabeth, what does your character want to do?
All right. Well, I was trying to move. Say, it seems to me that the ideal situation here is for this owl to remain on the premises to eat the mice, but not from within the barn itself. So I was thinking if we could relocate the owl, convince. I thought we might be able to either find a nice tree that it could live in, or maybe build it a nice, enormous birdhouse, or at least the bones of one that the farmer could finish up in his spare time. Oh, 100% courtesy. Um, but possibly some hunting of mice to get this conversation started. um, I don't have any lore to know. I mean, yeah. I, yeah, I guess I'm going to talk to the party about it. Yeah, I don't want anybody, like, if we're going to do this, we don't want somebody going off rogue and, like, trying to intimidate it while we're trying to. Um, I say what I said in my voice a minute ago about trying to move in and persuade it to go. And I'm also going to ask if anybody's heard any stories about whether owls talk, like we've heard about those moving trees, because I don't have a lot of lore, and it sounds like Drogo is more courteous. I'm fairly persuasive. I have excellent riddle, so I'm wondering, just trying to think ahead what we can talk to this owl about. Really has a good thinking Mobilia. I have every confidence you need as clever as any. Um,
To go get the mice, while the rest of us, those who are more
Courteous?
courteous or even-minded, or,
I have 2 in courteous.
Is it even-minded or even-minded?
yes, attempt to talk to the owl. So,
Okay.
but I think that it's a love. You should go look after your brother.
Mousy.
There he goes.
Okay,
He's
so
hunting.
so we're so we're splitting the party. Is that what we're doing?
I'm not very far. You'll hear me
We're
from time to
1 foot in the barn and 1 foot out. Okay, so all right. So it sounds like what you guys have decided to do is that though some are going to be looking to kind of get some bait for the owl, and that would require a hunting roll, or yeah. I mean, I think hunting's probably the most appropriate one here. You're tracking, basically. You're looking for evidence
12.
of mice.
Oh,
Only 15.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're going to try to help him to look for mice? Or no?
Like
Actually-
calling out and stomping around isn't
Yeah.
conducive to hunting, maybe.
I was planning on
mice
going
are
to the owl
Oh,
and
you want
trying
to stay in the...
and do not just to be courteous, use my brother as an example of why the owl shouldn't want to be here.
Oh, I see. So it's like the carrot and the stick.
In one. Yes.
Okay. Since a number of people want to try to talk to the owl, and I want to make sure everybody gets a turn here, why don't you perhaps those of you who want to stay and remain in the barn, all of you roll courtesy.
hang on.
Riddle will not work here.
Yeah, I was wondering if I get a lore on what I know about owls.
You can try. Yep. And Elizabeth, did you have a question? Didn't hear that.
Yeah, I was trying to say that, before we actually start talking to the owl, we might actually want to split up the party and see if we can scout a good alternate location. Because we don't want to come into this owl with half a plan.
I'm definitely re-rolling that.
Yeah, you certainly could. I think the rest of them want to kind of stay put, but if you want to go outside and scout, you could use. So for scouting, excellent.
Twice that thing showed up.
Sorry, I'm just a little distracted right now.
Have a square and 2 diamonds in awareness, if that would be the thing.
Yes. You may go, and would you like to go with, and your character could go and scout out someplace?
Yeah, if anybody has a high explore and would like to come along, that could be helpful too. Explore, not lore.
Yeah, I mean, this is a local area. You guys, I think all of you would have a certain sense of, knowledge of where would be a good place that would be attractive to an owl. So, okay. So meanwhile, the other guy's looking for mice. Do you want to go ahead and go out there and roll for awareness?
Yeah.
So once she's done that, then all of us will have rolled, and then we can talk about what that means. So just keep your dice.
oh, I haven't rolled yet.
So what are you doing?
Keep your dice handy.
What is Lobelia doing?
Lobelia is going to wait
I may need
first
water.
for Drogo to do something, and
I
then
had some already.
if
And then do it better.
needed, she'll
I
do
have
it
it.
better.
Excellent. Okay, you're going to wait and see.
Yeah.
All right. I'm fine. David, did you want water?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So Elizabeth, let's tell us what your awareness roll was, please.
So as I said, I have a dot as well as 2 diamonds in this. So we'll remember that.
And you're roaring Mac, right? So yes. So it's favored, which means you get to re-roll the d12 and keep the best result, plus the 2 diamonds. So go ahead and roll those 3 dice then.
Okay. Be 12.
And did you re-roll the d12 to get the best
Yep.
result? Okay. So it's not high enough, really. Your target number is 14 there. But you do see that there is that stand of trees that the farmer's mentioning, and it does look like at least an inviting place. There's some good mature trees there that perhaps could be at least, you don't feel guilty about chasing the owl out. There certainly seems to be a good place that an owl would like to live in. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and go to the others now, and I'm going to ask each of them to tell me what they rolled. So, yes.
I rolled. And even with the advantage on my thing,
On your D12?
that thing showed up twice.
You got an Eye of Sauron twice?
Yes.
Wow, that's like a record.
So this would be 3 times
Like
in
a
a
broken
row.
record. Okay, so, so you got 5 total because that just counts as a 0. Thankfully, you're not miserable, so it's not an automatic failure. But you, you're trying to gesture towards the owl and get its attention, throw a little pebble up, kind of hits it in the butt, and the owl is glaring down at you now.
Mm-hmm.
All
What's
right?
the owl look like?
It is a large, great horned owl.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
I'm asking it how
One of
many
the biggest
licks
ones
does it
you've
take?
ever seen. And what about Prinila?
Prim found a 15 on a lore check regarding owls.
Okay, so you rolled for lore. Yes, and I think that's a success, right? For your,
Yes, I have
for your
13.
wits. Okay, as you're thinking there, you seem to remember that owls are kind of regarded as fairly knowledgeable, and while, of course, hobbits don't talk to animals, but the animals talk to other animals, and the owls of the Shire sometimes seem to have some kind of uncanny ability to communicate and can actually, if they so want to, perhaps kind of rouse some opposition to you if you don't treat it nicely. Word can get around, so to speak. Like crows.
Oh, so I will inform the group. Let's try not to throw any more rocks, dear. I'm concerned that they might see us as not so friendly and think of us less than fondly.
And then at this point, you, with a great success,
Oh, I did roll a 6, by the way.
you did. Yes, you did, which has saved the group from an unfortunate consequence. So now that you've been warned by Primula, what does Drogo do? Speak to the owl.
Oh, great Lord Owl. Who? You. Yes.
That was a nice touch with him.
I, Drogo Baggins, find your... Yes, I. And you are a beautiful example of the great horned owl, with the emphasis on the great. This barn is not worthy of your attention. The mice are already gone, and the mule is too scrawny to eat. So, I would recommend that you relocate to the old woods. I think you would find that Sister Goldberry would be a grand companion for you. The wife of Tom Bombadil.
Okay, at this point, the owl
Name dropping.
seems to be pacified, flies out of the barn, and releases a big splot on top of your head. Oh, what the? As you hear the outburst outside, and then flies off towards the copse of woods. And
So you've got an owl pellet.
I come running
Congratulations.
in. Oh! What?
That's an interesting pellet you have on your head.
What happened?
Brother, are you sobering up yet?
Oh, what happened?
Oh, come here. We'll help you, dear. Come here.
so you get him cleaned up, and then you find this is actually a nice snug barn. The
You're
mule,
going to make a great mother.
the mule kind of comes up towards Primula and lays its head in your lap,
Yes.
and then
Gentle like
Kicks
baby.
you.
Gentle like baby. Gentle like
The
gentle
other way-
babies. There we go.
His name isn't George.
I will hug him.
All
and
right.
I will squeeze him.
So you guys have all successfully together been able to get the politely urge the owl out towards the copse of woods which Rory Mac found earlier. And now you all sleep super well, and you wake up very refreshed, except for Paladin, who has an unfortunate hangover.
You wake up cuddling
But
to
not
the donkey.
unexpected.
But not unexpected. At this point, if I were running it with endurance points, right, you
Yeah.
would have lost one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead. Did you have something?
Also, every so often, I use my walking stick to kind of move his head to the other side, as opposed to him snoring in my ear.
Right.
He's on another side of the bar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
Girls are beyond.
Girls on one side.
So we're
boys on the
moving on.
We're
Moving on.
Now it's morning. Yeah.
Yes, it's morning, and you decide to get going on your
Quietly.
way quietly.
Quiet morning.
Yes, the birds are chirping. Chirp, 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 chirp. It's a
Oh,
little
it's
loud.
lovely. They chirp so fondly of you. Oh,
Oh, and when you wake up, there's a mouse on your boot.
it runs off.
Nibble, nibble. Okay, you set out from the farm and you go north towards Waymeet, and you pass by without any more curious, nosy hobbits asking questions, thankfully. And you spend the rest of your day with several stops for meals, of course. And thankfully, it did not rain, so it's another beautiful summer day. And you arrive at Mickle Delving, and the sun is still up in the sky, but it's late afternoon for sure. And you did have a bit of a stiff sleep in Bunce's barn for sure, but you have reached the edges after this long westward walk, the edges of Mickle Delving upon the White Downs. You pass the spot where a southward path leads off from the main course of the East Road, just as the sun sets and the first stars begin to reveal themselves. Ahead, you get a good look at Mickle Delving upon the White Downs, quite a bit larger than Hobbiton. In fact, it is the largest. It is the largest town, if you can call it a town, really the largest village in the Shire, which is why it's called Mickle Delving instead of Little Delving, which is to the north. Mickle being great or large.
Oh.
So,
Oh.
quite a bit larger than Hobbiton, Mickle Delving is a tightly packed collection of homes built of wood, brick, and stone, and the occasional hobbit hole. But as the last of its people go about their evening business, your eye cannot help but be drawn to the massive smile to one side of the great cobblestone thoroughfare running through the center of town. That big smile, remember, of course, it's a
And
hill,
that's spelled.
Smial. It's a large dwelling place with many holes and windows, which shows that this is basically one large residence underground for hobbits.
A communal dwelling of sorts.
Of sorts, but usually in this case it belongs to one family. It might be an extended family, but in this case it is the seat of. It is called the Town Hall, and the Town Hall is the seat of the mayor of the whole Shire.
Kind of like a mansion.
Gotcha.
For hobbits, although to be fair, Tuckborough in Tuckland and Buckland Hall, where the Brandybucks come from originally, those are both older and even grander. But this one, he has a certain amount of authority. So yeah, it'd be equal, probably equal. And by the way, just so you know, you would know this background in the Shire, that the Thane is the oldest of the Tooks who's alive, and that is like a really old hereditary kind of position, but really doesn't have any super much authority in the Shire. And then, of course,
Kind of like the modern queen.
yeah, but then also in Buckland, the master of Buckland Hall has authority for all of Buckland. So the mayor is kind of like, he's elected every so many years. It's not hereditary. But more important to your business is what lies south of the town hall, on an adjacent hillock not quite so tall and green. It is a large wooden building with a great red round door that is connected to the main road by way of a small stone path, you notice. This, you know, is the Matham House. And it is the Museum of the Shire and your destination, where hopefully you will find and recover, without being noticed, Bilbo's grandfather's map. As candles flicker to life behind windows, and hobbit folks settle in for the evening, you notice a handful of hobbits carrying stout cudgels and tiny lanterns strolling about. You know that these are bounders. Bounders are the local law enforcement, and bounders undoubtedly are making their usual rounds. Best to avoid them, though, lest your mischief be discovered and thwarted.
Hate to be reported to the sheriff.
Oh yes, the sheriff would have to put you in the lockholes, probably, or at least give you a good talking to.
Stern talking to.
Oh yes.
Maybe even a finger waggle.
Yes, maybe even 2 finger waggles.
Oh
and,
no.
And of course you would feel really bad if you came back and disappointed your older cousin Bilbo Baggins, because even if he's a little strange sometimes, you can't help but be curious what this map leads to.
Yes.
Gold and maybe silver.
Yeah.
Anyway, what does your companionship, what does your fellowship do? Let's role play that out, talk to each other. Remember the names here. We have Lobelia, and we have Esmeralda, and Paladin, and we have Rory, or Rory Mac, if you're formal. And then we have Drogo and Primula. So let's use names when possible. You have to come up with a game plan, give some ideas.
I have an idea.
Oh, do say, dear.
Why don't we go up and have a nice conversation with the characters and keep him occupied for a little bit?
I think that'd be delightful. I would love nothing more of it, dear.
Yes, maybe we can invite him to our wedding.
Yes, indeed. I think I have one of the invitations right here.
That's a very hobbitish thing to do, actually. Have
Yes.
invitations with you.
I
Okay.
think that would be a wonderful.
Yes, I was thinking that, I wasn't thinking about the mayor, that's your idea, and I'm looking for it. But I was thinking that, while some of these younger ones just sort of, I don't know, scamper around, I did mention at the inn that we were looking for some patterns, and I think it might be well done for the 3 of us, and perhaps Miss Squirtle, if she doesn't wish to monitor these younger folks, to look at those patterns and see if these terrible rumors I heard about Miss Smallfoot's ill health had any basis. Just check up neighborly like.
Shouldn't we all stay together, but be quiet? Don't you think?
You notice that there's no lights on in the mayor's house. That's for some reason. And no lights on in the Madam house either.
Why don't we just quietly sneak in together and watch out for each other? Now, he said there was a dog, right?
I heard there were dags, yes.
So
Maybe
do
we should
have
find
some
that
meat
dog.
for the dog?
Do you have any of that chamomile tea you're famous for?
Do we have any meat in our packs?
A little.
Yes, you have
Maybe
some
you
meat.
can put in some in the meat and
Some
you
dried
could
meat.
sleep.
I mean, there's no
I
harm
used
in
to do
going
that
up
with
to the
the
mayor's
little ones.
house,
I could
but
do
there are
that.
no lights on, so that might mean that the mayor's not home.
Or he's
So
having an
I
early
just-
siesta.
The,
If we're going to be sneaking in, just as soon they not know we were even here, don't you think? I assume you especially wouldn't want them to know, because they might put 2 and 2 together.
What do you mean?
If something goes missing,
And that would mean me.
and we were seen here,
Well, let's not make assumptions. It's
Well-
not made out of silver.
and also the reputation to uphold.
I do have a reputation.
right?
Yes, it's not silver.
As the best thief in town.
It does occur to you that stealth would be the best skill to use if you were to try to sneak up to the Madam house without the bounders noticing. But if you want to talk to a bounder, you could do that.
And I'm really stealthy.
Okay? So, sounds like we need to take a vote then on 2 ideas. One is to talk to... We've got a couple ideas on the table here. Sneak up to the Madam house, or talk to the mayor, or you were talking about patterns, Elizabeth. Did you mean to talk to a bounder, or to the mayor, or to see if there's someone at the Madam house? What did you mean there?
I meant to, take him to the inn, wait till morning. In the morning, we talk to the mayor, give him the invitation. Go, those of us who are expected to be respectable, take this nice little trip to the Maltham house, look at the patterns. And meanwhile, those who might be more energetic can do anything that they want that they're not going to tell me about because I'm not totally on board with this whole thieving thing to begin with. So Well,
And your target number will be up above wits. It'll be wits.
roll question?
No, not wits. Sorry.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Heart.
Heart. Yes.
I got a 12, a 6, and a 1.
Oh, a 12 means it's a Gandalf rune, which means it's an automatic success. And you said there's a 6 as well?
There's a 6 and a 1.
Okay, right. So the total will be 19, but the 6 means it's a great success. It's like another level. What did you get?
I got a total of 18.
Also with a great success.
Yes.
Okay, and you?
Thankfully, I don't have a Sauron rune this time.
No, you don't. So you have 15 with a great success?
Yes.
What about you?
Straight 16, nothing special.
Okay, yep. So you would have also passed, I think, yes?
11 out of 12.
No. Just missed it, yes.
17 out of 12.
Yeah. Okay,
Nothing
so
special.
nothing special.
Yeah,
So
16 out of 14.
all right, so all of you, as you're
Except for me.
so all of you, as you're discussing quietly in hushed tones what to do off to the side so as not to attract the attention of the bounders.
Thank you.
Yes, and for his poor head. You all
It's okay.
you all have a feeling that maybe you should not wait till morning. It possibly you would get more help and support, but it's possible there'd be more questions than you really would rather have. So you want to try to avoid more questions. And then the two of you, so Elizabeth and let's see who you also got a great success.
Yes.
I think it was just the two of you.
I had a great success.
You did.
So
So
the
three of you.
us.
So as you're talking together, you also realize that, Bilbo did seem to want to keep this on the low down, on the hush hush. And so you feel like if you were to bring back the map, but you had ended up talking to a number of people and there was maybe a little bit too much attention, Bilbo might not really appreciate that because future quests will hinge on whether or not you can secretly get it. So, while you agree that it would be admirable to kind of do a little diversionary tactic the next day, the safest bet might just be sneak up to the house. So that's what you think you should probably do and avoid attention.
We can invite the mayor to our wedding later.
And it's not breaking and entering if you're taking something that belonged to the person and returning it.
That's still
Or
breaking
so
and
you
entering.
think.
No,
It's
we're
just
not
not
going to
stealing.
break
It's just
anything.
No breaking.
It is breaking. Well, it is entering.
It's breaking and entering.
And
There's
not
nothing
stealing.
broken. There's
No.
nothing broken.
You could
Well, we don't
even,
know that.
You could even sweep
We can
things
probably
and
get
make
away
it
with
even
just
better than when
entering.
you came.
There we go.
Hiding and entering.
In your own Hobbit moral sense. Okay. All right. So,
I'm also worried about that dog.
yes, there is the dog.
I have little meat treats from our.
I
from our
had an
pack.
idea.
I think there's a took
Yes.
here who could wrestle him.
And I'm proposing this for myself.
Esmeralda. Yes.
Yes. I go find that dog, and if that dog is being, I don't know, being entertained by me because I'm a took and the dog belongs to a took,
Okay.
that dog is going to be somewhere other than where you guys are.
I see. Okay. So if you have no idea where the dog is. You just know that the dog is somewhere near the Maltham house.
Yeah.
You don't know if the dog is inside the Maltham house or chained outside the Maltham house. You have no idea until you get up closer and can observe it.
Okay.
And maybe scan.
I will scan.
Okay, well first you have to get up there, and that requires everyone to make a roll of stealth. We're going to try to be as stealthy as possible. And stealth will be your
Wisdom. Wits.
yes, wits. The target number.
Oh no.
I have Sauron here.
That was my reroll. So
I got two
that was a
6s
3.
and an ISR on.
Remember that stealth can be re-rolled if you have it favored. Oh my! 7 for you.
I'm above 13.
13 for you. You just made it. And how about you?
Straight 12.
Straight
Or,
12.
sorry, no, 12. There.
Did you meet your target?
Straight 20. Oh, yeah. Out of
Oh, yes,
14,
high.
yeah.
Okay,
20 out of 14.
and how about Rory Mac?
22.
Oh, yeah, definitely succeed. Okay, and... how about
I have
you?
a 14 over 13, but one of those is a Sauron eye,
Yeah.
which would actually be a 15 over 13.
When you say 15 over 13, I'm not sure what you mean.
I have a
That's-
13 target number.
That's a 4.
You're not looking at the dice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, that's not my concern about the dice. I'm talking about, the big diamond, that is your TN.
Yes, I got a 13. So,
Okay, and so if yours is a 14, then you didn't make it, right?
well, 14 is bigger than 13.
Did you roll 14?
Yes,
That's all I need to know.
but one of them's a Sauron eye, which is an automatic failure, right?
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not. Okay.
0.
It's not. It just counts as a 0 unless
Okay.
you are in a special condition. So yes, you succeed if it's your target over your target.
Do I
or
still get the
matching.
greater?
So
Yes.
Okay, nice.
So and that makes
I have 2 greater and I did succeed. Because 13 equals 13.
Does it now?
Oh, you do have 13. Correct. So yes, you do not automatically fail. Sorry, I did see that. Okay, so who did not succeed?
What did Elizabeth get? 22?
Esmeralda
Yeah.
and Elizabeth. What did you
she
say?
said like
was-
22.
Yeah, she got a real high one.
like
The only
22.
one who did not succeed is Esmeralda Took. So the rest of you are sneaking stealthily up the hill. Unfortunately, you step on a twig, and it breaks with a loud snap. And just then, you see a bounder with a tiny lantern and a cudgel hurrying towards you, but she doesn't see the rest of the people. Nope, she's at the back. Sorry. All right. So you guys are able to get away, and then you'll have to deal with this.
Be bait.
So you see approaching you a young and enthusiastic hobbit, and she comes up to you and says, "I'm Ada Burrows of Little Delving, and this is my first assignment, and I want to ask you, what do you think you're doing right now?"
I'm heading home.
Well, I don't recognize you, and I'm from Little Delving, but I have relatives here in Mickle Delving, so I'm sorry, but I don't mean to bother you, but where is home?
That way.
Well, this is very mysterious, I think. Most hobbits are in their beds at night. Do you realize it's almost 9 o'clock tonight?
Oh dear me, it is late.
That is some strong drink.
Oh dear. Well, now just so you know, you're going to have to roll Persuade or Riddle to try not to attract her suspicion that you're up to something more than just perhaps a late night out.
I'm gonna go with Persuade, and
Okay.
hopefully that I don't roll another double Sauron eye. I'm gonna re-roll this because I have that. 7.
Which gives you 13,
Yep.
13.
just enough.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay.
But advantage.
So that means that, thankfully, you're able to persuade Ada that you're just coming home a little bit later than normal, and you must live in one of the outlying farms that she doesn't know as well. So she says, "Well, stick to the good paths, and do be careful you don't fall in a creek or something."
I'm gonna swerve a bit and make it seem like maybe she should help me.
Oh, maybe I should walk you to your house, to your farm.
At least out of town.
Very good. All right, so then Ada, so the rest of you are up on the hill and you're like, she's being walked out of town, and the direction you pointed was actually west, so kind of towards the edge, which thankfully is nearer, not on the other side, the way you came.
I'm trusting that the Took can handle themselves. I'm not going to be waiting, looking.
No.
No.
You're like examining
I'm doing what I could do best.
with an exquisite umbrella,
Of course.
right?
Yes.
And no silver spoons.
And Too bad you weren't there
And the
because you
bespoke
really.
suit.
I really could have just
Put on
charmed.
it thick.
Yes.
All right.
From a certain
All right, so let's do this then. Let's go around starting here so that everybody gets a turn. Tell me what you decide to do. You come up and you see the Matham house, and all right, my eyes like here. You see that, as I said before, it's a really beautiful, large wooden building with a great red round door. No lights on. And no sign of anyone around it yet.
Well, is the door open?
It is not. It is closed.
No, but like,
But you don't know if it's locked unless you go and try.
well, of course I'm gonna go try.
Of course you will.
Why not?
So you go up and you try the doorknob.
It looks like a very clean handle, wouldn't you say? No. Never mind.
I have very clean hands.
I don't have fingerprints.
Yeah, I don't think I have fingerprints yet.
No, fingerprints aren't a thing.
No.
Yeah.
But I was
Okay.
being courteous.
I was thinking she should wear gloves too.
All right.
Pretty much the only things that Lobelia has been touching has been her exquisite umbrella and what she needs to eat with, and maybe occasionally her clothes as she moves along.
So is this exquisite umbrella from League of Extraordinary Bespoke Suits?
The door is unlocked.
Ooh.
Okay.
Looking very smug.
You're walking and trying to keep this bounder away from. Yes. Okay. Good. Good. All right. So now all the other bounders are elsewhere. So you've kind of distracted her. What are you doing?
I was watching, staying in the bushes, hidden,
Yeah.
watching to see what happened, and then once they walked away, I come up and catch this. I'm afraid that Esmeralda is distracted. The god is going off west and won't be joining us just right away. We'll have to deal with that one for the moment, but we'll need to pick her up all the way out.
Yeah. Don't forget Esmeralda.
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
I pull out a notebook. Do not leave.
And I would at this point award a experience point, because what Hawk's character, what he's demonstrating there, is a concern for perhaps a fellowship focus or just a general like thoughtfulness.
Sibling.
So, yeah, and so that would be worth something. I would seek to reward that. So,
Okay.
Right. So what you want to do is reward the role playing, not just the mechanics
correct.
of combat. This is a way you can get at-risk players to go outside of just the hack and slash and puzzle solving mode and go, oh, I get benefits for doing the role playing, because you'll have the min-maxers who only focus on how they min-max characters. Well, if you give rewards for role playing that are immediately gratified, so the closer you pair action with consequence, the easier it is for an organism to learn from that.
Yes.
The farther apart it is, the more difficult it is for them to make the pairing.
So if I waited till the end of the session, that wouldn't be as effective. I would say that right away,
Yep.
and then you're going to record it, and then everybody feels good.
And does anybody remember what that keyword is about that pairing of two things?
Single word?
What is that?
Single word?
No, it's triple. What was that?
Linking up behavior.
Yeah, you got the right idea. There's a specific. It's two words. First word 3 syllables. Second word is 1 syllable.
Are you talking about causal effect?
No. Cognitive linkage.
Cognitive linkage.
Cognitive linkage.
I was thinking reinforcement.
Yeah.
Linkage is
Well, it's
2
all part of
syllables.
that. Oh, sorry. Cognitive link. Cognitive linkage. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good.
Which is not the kind of sausage that dogs chase after.
No.
However, it would be quite handy if you had some cognitive links to attract
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dog.
Okay,
right
so
now.
2 syllables. Anyway. Moving
All
on.
right. Speaking of, you remember there's a dog.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm just walking on.
this umbrella's made for using for more than one thing.
We'll deal with the dog when I find the dog.
Like poking people in the chest.
Okay. Well, everybody belongs. Everybody belongs. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's up to Elizabeth. So your character, Rory Mac. What does Rory Mac do?
We're going to see what one does.
Okay. My hearing's not super good there. Did you say you're gonna wait and see?
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. Yeah, Roy's a little bit reluctant on this whole thing, but also thinks that maybe somebody should, like watch outside and like an owl if there's. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the right person for that, but I think Roy will suggest that.
That you have a high awareness for your character.
Me? Yes.
So that if you have a high awareness, that would be a really great feature for keeping an eye out if you think that's what Rory Mac would want to do.
Yeah. Okay. Unless anybody has 3 dots. Okay. You know what? Okay. Rory will. There are windows, right? This is an upstanding building. This isn't a hole.
That does have some high windows.
Okay.
And
then
there's also a
Rory to try and get to the windows and like do a perimeter from inside.
Okay, so you're going to go inside, but you're going to walk around and then go inside. Is that what you said?
I was okay. Rory wants to like from inside be checking out the windows and keeping an eye out because clearly we've got some alert bounders, so we don't want to do a perimeter from outside. Although
Right.
you can do a damn with a pipe. But
All right. So you'll just be kind of alert, but you're going inside.
In lookout mode.
yeah, I'll actually ask the group if they would rather I like wander around outside with my pipe or look out the windows.
Okay, so she just asked you if Rory Mac just asked you if you'd like him to walk around the outside with his pipe or to come inside.
I think.
Let's not attract any attention. Maybe watch from the inside is the safest.
I agree.
You all right with that, Rory Mac?
Yeah, I do agree that would be safest, Paladin. I just thought we might there was a benefit to being outside and that we get a slightly better notice. But I on balance, I think you have it right there.
So now, what did you decide to do?
I'm going inside to help look for the map.
Very good.
If I could encourage each of you for the benefit of our viewers/listeners who sometimes only listen because of visual impairment, keep kind of stating your character, name and what your character does by name to help them kind of track who's who. So imagine you're only hearing this as a podcast and tracking who's saying what.
Yep.
When your character's speaking, that's fine. It's a character voice. You don't have to say your name. But when you're doing a meta thing,
you could be like
Drogo's going
will
to do this.
walk around
Exactly.
and do this and that.
That'll be helpful.
Drogo's going to look for the map. Very good. And
Prim is going to be going inside and producing a little meat treat for searching for the dog.
okay, you're searching for the dog with the meat treat.
I'm trying to be stealthy still, but I'm with the goal of finding the doggo.
Okay, so you have so far, as conspirators, faced your greatest challenge so far to reach the Madam House without anyone noticing, and you have gained access to it. Well done. At this point, Ada has escorted you to the edge of town, and you kind of lurch off into the darkness. You wait for a moment, and Ada goes back the way she came. And as you're kind of coming up towards the door and keeping an eye on things and looking out, you see that the bounder, kind of walks back towards the mayor's house. And for the moment, there are no bounders within sight.
Good.
Are you coming back to the house?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a more
Diagonal.
covert path.
Yes. Covert.
Yeah.
Amazingly
Stick
with
free.
yes, and yeah. How much time?
So we need to wrap up, make a good stopping point that makes sense here.
Okay, right now, or do I have 5 or 10 minutes?
Well,
You know how this
in
is
about
for game masters.
I know this is in 10 minutes. We're at 12 o'clock.
Okay.
So if you can find if 5 minutes or less,
Okay.
find a stopping
Will
point
do.
that we can pick up.
I
from
can
later.
do that. It's just nice to know.
Beautiful,
I have,
yeah.
a few minutes because I don't know
Yep.
the schedule. Sorry. Okay. All right. So you guys all come in, and now that you're all inside, so Rory Mac, you notice that there is a ladder below one of the windows because the windows are quite high, but you're able to kind of go up the ladder and look out, if that's okay. Is that kind of what you wanted to do, to be able to see out and see if there's any bounders coming?
Yep.
Okay, so you're doing that. Meanwhile, you're going around looking for the dog, and you happen to see that there is indeed a small terrier, which is not the fearsome guard dog you were expecting. It's curled up asleep under a writing desk, letting out heavy snores.
Don't underestimate a terrier.
You know, especially if you're the size of a
And
rat.
you know that they also bark quite loudly. So you can either go with the stealth thing, or you can try to wake it up and feed it something.
Oh, you know, Prim, being the way she is, just loves animals, especially with the donkey having raised his head. So she's actually going to softly, silently, kind of nestle down right where she is, not close the distance, but if this dog did wake up, I would be the first
prepared.
thing.
You
And
could
I
almost-
have the treats.
You could almost call it a stakeout.
You know what? It is, in fact, a steak. I'm gonna make a little tray, a little. I take my napkin out, put little treats on it.
Look at
complete.
that. Wow.
Gonna make a formal little.
Yes,
little,
a bit of dog could not
This
resist.
is why I'm
You know
marrying
what?
her.
You haven't married her yet.
I said I am
Marrying.
marrying.
Oh, you
her.
are. Clearly a very attractive traits.
Yes.
And such a bride. Okay. All right.
This is why
very
my
good.
belly's so big.
So the rest of you that are available now may scan to find the map. Please roll scan. And remember, okay, so I need to know every time you hit a Saranai, and I need to know, actually, no, I don't need to know if it's Saranai. I just need to know if you fail or succeed each time, and it will be 3 in a row.
Would that include me?
Nope. Yeah, you can also
Okay.
try.
Because okay, I'm back.
Okay, nope. Okay. If you're interested enough, Rory Mac, you may come down and try.
Focusing on the dog.
Sorry, I wasn't listening because I didn't do this roll. What am I doing?
You're gonna roll scan
For the map.
for the map, looking for the map.
Looking around, keep your eyes open.
And I'm looking, matching my wits,
You got 13?
and a 6.
Oh, okay. Now we have to get 3 total.
You're back. You've made it up to the building.
Yeah, I got it. I got her in. Okay, so we have 1. We have to get 3 total to find the map. So you succeeded in finding the location. What's that?
Esmeralda.
Esmeralda.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have found an area where you think you're on. You're getting close. You're hot. Okay, this is. You tell the others, and they can all start coming look. Actually, it looks like. I mean, this is an amazing thing. I'm not describing the inside of the Madam House because of time, but you see there's a stack of cookbooks on the bottom shelf of one of the bookcases, and there are some maps behind there. So you're like, hey guys, look at this. And anybody else? Succeed?
Yeah, I got with 2 dice for crits.
Okay, so you succeed.
Yeah, I got 11 and 6.
Very good. Everybody make one more roll. One more roll
Another
for
scan.
scan. No. Oh.
No.
No.
12.
No.
I got a 13, and if it's against wits, my wits is also 13, so I think that's a success.
Yes.
It is. And that is the 3rd attempt. You have found a large old map, and it's in surprisingly good condition, if a bit creased. And it indeed is a map of the Shire. And at the bottom, there is a note from someone who entered it into the museum, which says donated by, or no, not donated, loaned by Old Took. You quickly grab the map. As you leave, you leave a little bit of meat for the dog. Close the door. Kind of quietly try to get back. Find a nice tavern in Mickle Delving where no one's the wiser. And in the morning, you scoot back to Hobbiton and to Bag End, where you present the map. And this is what it says. After your successful recovery of the Old Took's map of the Shire and swift journey home, you're greeted by the green door of Bag End being thrown open like a pop gun to reveal a grinning Bilbo standing on the doorstep, walking stick in hand. You found it! Wonderful, simply wonderful! Almost as though he knew you were coming. Though eager, Bilbo ushers you in with a hasty wave of his hand. come on. We'll need to review my grandfather's map quickly tonight if we're off to set on our next adventure. This remarkable find of yours makes me believe I'm quite ready for another adventure. How about you? Ooh. You felt like maybe Bilbo was with you for the journey. Or was he?
He was the owl.
He's the one who put the stick in my way.
Well, does he just, how we
I'm going to
react?
have to go.
Okay.
So you can help.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do
Thank
need
you
to-
so much,
You're
Brian.
very welcome.
Really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for being great
Yes,
team, guys.
thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Players.
Very good.
I think that looked like it went pretty well as a starter set.
Yep.
So,
I understood what I was doing.
You need a ride,
Yeah.
David?
okay.
Yeah, I have to go. I just
Which way are you going?
I have a car, but I'm
So remember,
headed
point
out.
it
I
to
have
the 4
to
today.
respond to the.
Okay, did you need a ride?
Oh no, I have a
Okay.
car.
It's a work thing.
It's
Okay.
working.
There's
Yes.
been multiple
Bye.
emails.
Okay.
See you, Cyrus. Nice to meet
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is that a problem? Second and fourth Saturdays.
Yes,
We're
no,
going back to that schedule.
that is probably no.
Make sure I don't have any of your character sheets.
Clients
Hey,
at
David, can I
2.
get a ride?
Yeah, 2 to 4.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yes, you can get a ride.
Okay.
I'll get lunch. I can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
30 is check-in. So you got an hour and a half.
Yeah. Okay. Should be fine.
All right, we'll skip the retake of the quiz for now and let you get out of here.
Okay.
Sorry that I took a little longer.
No, that's fine.
This was the important part.
This was the very important part. Because we're evaluating a new game and we take
Can
long
I
for
leave
that.
this with you, Hawk? That is all the differences between
Oh, please.
first and a second edition.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
That's very helpful.
Yeah.
I would like everybody to know that box 1 is officially done.
Here, here. May the hair on your toes never fall out.
Or turn white.
With 157 items in it.
Nice.
My goodness.
Well done.
Now that's some curation right there. I will need all the cups, please, with the dice inside them. Thank you.
Okay, and the coasters?
Yep, those are mine too.
Okay. I stole it fair and square.
Or did you just
Oh,
borrow
okay,
it?
yeah. I'll get everything. Don't worry about it.
I halflinged it.
Halfling it. This is yours, I believe. That's not mine. I have a Primula.
Okay, you got everything?
That would be
Okay. So we are ending our class. Elizabeth, we'll see you next week.
Yep.
I don't remember what.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, that's the other question.
I didn't hear that question, but I have a question, which is, what are we doing next? Do I need to prepare anything? Should I be trying to prepare for that?
Well, the first question was, did you enjoy that?
Oh, yes.
Good.
I think it
let's-
was really great.
Let's see.
what is
Next week is.
This is still this week.
14. Top Secret New World Order. The White Queen.
Ah, yes.
Have you been through that yet as a player? Okay. Do you have access? Have you gotten access to it to run it? The adventure, I believe, is a freely available PDF. It's called Top Secret New World Order White Queen. I believe that's a freely available PDF. And then I can get you the rule book in the room.
Okay.
You're cutting in and out. What was that?
Is there a top secret RPG room that will go in?
Yes, yes. If there isn't, I will create it.
Okay,
it won't be top secret.
Okay, and I'll invite you. It may just be you weren't invited to it yet.
I'll be right back.
So, yeah, that's where it'll be.
We're gonna go grab something to eat. See you down
I'll check in later Monday. And thank you very much. Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Be well. Take care. Happy gaming and Namarie.